like Mighty Ducks is maybe my favorite Disney movie.
They're great.
But the cartoon
I got something to say. You're not going to like
a mockery. Don't say it.
Oh, I hate the coach. I hate the coach.
Gordon Bombay?
Explain that to me.
I hate Gordon Bombay. I think he's the most overrated guy of all time. To me, he's like the antagonist. Alcoholic, number one.
Yeah, it's a redemption story.
Hold on.
The kids teach him how to become a better man.
Hold on. Oh, yeah, you're going to learn that from the guy who his player's mom and then leaves her to go play in the minor leagues.
They fell in love.
They did not. He was taking advantage of a single mom. That guy, and he's like, I know how thick the ice is so I can drive my little bullshit. You did not know that you endangered those.
Vaguely irresponsible.
But
that's when he was still
lives.
a bad guy.
I had a Washington book I was reading that this all reminded me of that I never finished. I lost it on a plane. It was a tiny little fun paperback.
You a big ink under your fingernails guy?
And that, do I like physical books?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, same.
I've tried. I do love ink under your fingernails. I tried Kindles and stuff for like a year or two, and
I hate a Kindle.
It never stuck.
See, I'm just strictly audio.
I love audio.
I can't flip the page. I like play video games and I listen to audiobooks.
So I will have the physical book and the audio version. So I'll read at night, and then if I'm driving somewhere, I'll flip it on. Or if I'm walking the dog, I'll just keep going.
See, I've always I need to do that.
Do it.
I need to do that, and I've never taken the plunge, and I've been thinking about it forever.
I don't have the discipline to sit down and read a book.
T-Bob, there are no barriers to entry for this method. You can do it.
No, I know. You're right. No, it's like I don't even know what my hang. It sounds weird. What my hang up has been is I know if you are a Kindle person, you can get it to do it automatically. Where like you can sync up your account so wherever you stopped listening, it like automatically brings you to that page.
For the audio?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I'm almost positive. And so I've always been like, well, in my case, I'm going to have to like flip around and be like, okay, where was I? And then I might read something ahead. I've obviously overthought this.
Yeah.
Are we recording?
Yes.
Should we just start? Should we just leave that in?
Yeah.
How much did we get into the Starburst? Was that recorded?
No,
that was
just
not recorded.
No, we'll bring that up later. Welcome to Macrodosing. It is Thursday, June 26th. As you can tell, I am here, Big T. We're here with Chief.
I'm Ben Franklin.
Ben Franklin.
Yes.
T-Bob and I are both George Washington.
You're Thomas Jefferson. You got the ponytail.
Is that what this is?
Yeah, you got the ponytail.
Oh, interesting.
You told me they were both Washington.
Look, I see powdered wig on the Washington episode, and I just, I assumed. I didn't know that we would have such a discerning eye in our diplomatic friend from Paris.
You got a ponytail too.
Do I?
Yeah, so you might be Hamilton.
Washington had a tail.
I don't know that he did.
I believe so.
So in my research last night, I found out that Washington did not wear a powdered wig. Rather, he powdered his own. It was his real hair that he would powder and curl.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm not. Maybe he didn't have a tail. But just real quick, Arian and PFT obviously are gone. They are at the Ryder Cup. So we're here with Chief and T-Bob. Now, T-Bob, I did want you to maybe give a quick introduction of yourself, because I think we have a lot of people who listen who maybe don't consume a ton of other Barstool stuff.
Yep.
So if you just wanted to tell people about yourself a little bit.
Yeah, so I just started working here. It's been a very surreal and incredible experience thus far. I come from doing well over a decade of being a radio host in Louisiana. My passions in life are basically anything nerdy, sports, and history. So I am especially excited for this. Although I don't...
You are in good company here in the studio today.
Yeah, I feel like that's what I'm saying. It feels like there's a kinship here. Even though I would say I haven't read a ton of Enlightenment era stuff. I have read some, but I'm excited to dive into
Get the fuck out of
today.
here, then. You haven't read the Enlightenment?
No, fuck! Shit! I read a...
You haven't read John Locke? Get the fuck out.
So I'm really pumped to be in... I like this show because even down to the title... I mean, I love mushrooms. So even down to the title, it seems very... The only thing is, I used to do, when I started, I did sports and politics on the radio. and I was I'm personally like a left-leaning person, and so I was basically a person on the left doing radio in Louisiana. And so I was just going to
How was that?
I was just going to fucking battle every single night. However,
That's why you moved to the land of Brandon Johnson.
and look, and getting so and spending so much time in the political muck, it unfortunately made me completely apathetic, in that you just eventually learn that nothing matters because special interest and money is all that matters, and blah 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 blah. So now I view
They're
myself
all gonna bomb Iran,
now, exactly, because the money wants to.
right?
So now I view myself as a sort of just a leaf on the wind of history. I'm just here
That's
for
healthy.
the show.
That's healthy.
I'm just here for the show, and I have my personal beliefs but yeah, it doesn't fucking matter.
Do you like Mad Dog?
I've always said that the premier alcoholic drink is Mad Dog.
So, obviously, Macrodosing is brought to you by Mad Dog 2020, from the creators of the legendary MD 2020, the original name in high-flavor, high-alcohol beverages with those unmistakable, vibrant colors and iconic flask bottles. Mad Dog by MD 2020 brings the party with 15% ABV in a portable can that tastes incredible, delicious flavor that doesn't sacrifice on drinkability. We've got all 4 flavors here. If y'all haven't tried them, Chief has it's spiked strawberry, I believe it's called.
Mm-hmm.
You have Bling Bling Blue Raz. Then we have the Mad Margarita and the Whipped Orange Cream. There's all 4. We had the people from Mad Dog in this week, and they were great. And they gave us y'all can take a Mad Dog jersey if you want.
Oh,
Fuck yeah, it's perfect for Jersey.
I don't know if y'all are headed somewhere for July 4th, but yeah, Mad
I'm
Dog.
not headed in a time machine, so I can't be wearing a basketball jersey anywhere.
yeah.
If it was 2009 and I was 23,
I see.
Yeah.
I see.
See, you're a pretty good shit. I mean,
Bro.
sleeveless is tough. Sleeveless is tough.
Do a shirt under.
Yeah.
But then that's pretty nerdy. The shirt under the basketball jersey.
I did that for the State Farm, and I'm looking at myself on camera being like, the buckets are going in, but I look like a fucking dork.
Yeah.
I'll say this about Mad Dog. It's definitely tantalizing my natural nerd instincts, because that just looks like a health pot and a mana pot, and maybe like a strength potion. That might be a wisdom elixir there. And if you drink enough of it, I mean, I'm sure that's how you're going to end up feeling.
Chug jug.
The chug jug. Yes, exactly. Oh yeah,
Are you a Fortnite guy?
No, I never actually. So I've absolutely been. I would say video games have defined my life for the vast majority of my life, but I never have gotten hooked on a battle royale.
Really?
It's kind of insane.
Interesting.
I think it's because it's right when I started having kids, and I had to rediscover my love of single player games, because I needed shit that I could just like quit at a moment's notice, and then get back in or whatever.
Sure. We'll look for Mad Dog by MD 2020 in your local stores and at drinkmd2020.com now. Must be 21 or older to purchase.
Great packaging. Unique packaging.
Yep.
Great packaging.
Yep.
That's what I did before Barstool.
That's
really?
Like marketing packaging?
Plastic cans specifically.
Oh,
Manufacturing.
so this is this is a truly expert opinion.
Oh yeah.
In Mad Dog's packaging.
Chief's first appearance on this show was one of we'll just call it one of the worst episodes we've ever done. And that was
infamously.
It was due mainly to the topic that was chosen. It was not Chief's fault.
You guys asked me to talk plastic.
Yeah. No, 100%. And so
like the invention of plastic?
Microplastics more specifically.
Oh, just hang it.
Which
all
did
in our
you see?
dicks.
There a thing just came
We
out
always
about.
talk
We
about
gotta do it. We gotta do it. The glass bottles
time.
There's more
have more
microplastic in glass.
microplastics.
What?
Yeah, just came out. New study.
Do you want to tell
Irony.
you why?
Yes.
Yeah. Let's just do it. We'll
Yes.
just redo it.
I absolutely want to know why.
So there's 2 reasons. The cap. It always
Okay.
has like a metallic cap on there,
Yeah.
where the underside is going to have some plastic on there. So there's
Okay.
some stuff from that. And every can, bottle, everything is sprayed with a liner, and there's plastic remnants in that.
Whoa. No, is that to hold the glass together if it breaks? Is that like what's the point of the liner?
It's more for like, I don't know if glass uses it as much as aluminum, but like you're coating it to guard against like an aluminum flavor, like an aftertaste.
Oh,
in
that makes
cans,
sense.
And they do similar things with plastic or with glass.
50 times as many microplastics as plastic bottles.
Plastic is having a comeback. I don't know if you guys noticed.
It never left for me.
Yeah, straws back.
I'm a plastic guy.
When was the last time we saw a paper straw? Nobody does that shit anymore.
Well, they can never hold structural integrity.
They suck.
You know, I mean, if they could have ever been made functional, then perhaps they stood a chance. But
Totally.
Listen, I'd vote for Zohran if he said we're banning paper straws. I've said this I'll vote for anybody. It used to be sports gambling. I said anyone that will legalize sports gambling, I'll vote for it. Now it's getting not just bringing back plastic, banning paper.
that is a very, very
environmentalist Big T save the trees.
emphatic. That's a deep belief system involving.
I'm a single issue
paper
voter,
straws.
and it is plastic straws. You've used paper straws?
Yeah, they suck.
They ruin your day.
But also, no, see that. But no, it's kind of. I just keep it moving. You know, they kind of like, that sucks.
Dude,
And
it feels so terrible.
Well, you know what it does do? It makes my teeth hurt a little bit. You know how when you're using like an eraser on a pencil and you actually get to the metal and it scratches the paint? Yeah,
why'd you do that?
It kind of triggers that same thing in me, so I don't love it for that. But
hearing Velcro makes my teeth feel that way.
oh, see, I like Velcro.
When I hear Velcro, my teeth, I get a bad feeling in my teeth.
You get a physical reaction to the sound.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's the inverse ASMR. It's probably all ASMR. It's just it's triggering
just
bad
negative.
feelings instead of good ones.
Yeah.
I like watching people with their long fake fingernails tapping on things.
Oh, I hate long fingernails.
I'm just
I don't know how they
my
work.
algorithm has showed me that I have more ASMR in me than I would care to admit.
The number one, I mean, the guy just retired, but anybody who's building a shelter in the woods, and they just hammer along it. It's like at 2.5 speed, and they just build it out of like plastic sheets and wood, and they just.
Oh, it's so good.
My favorite is the cutting sand with a sharp knife. You've seen those?
Oh, I don't think I've seen that.
Oh, dude, they have like kinetic sand, and they just cut through it. And it's like a.
Wow.
It's amazing.
Feels good.
I hope
they
my
put next to like brain rot videos.
Yeah. Whenever they're talking about some bullshit and all it is like satisfying.
Well, I hope my phone's listening right now and I get one of those in my algorithm later.
AI's making a bunch of them now, and they're getting like 6 million likes on TikTok.
Dude,
glass fruit?
AI is common.
Yeah, the glass fruit. Very satisfying.
Yeah, I do like that one. I have seen that.
And we always have to remember that the fundamental truth of AI is that today is the worst that it will ever be.
Yep.
Yeah.
And once you wrap your head around that, that starts to get pretty extreme. I will say this, though, guys, since we're all sports fans here, thankfully, sports will be the last bastion of humanity.
What about having terrible opinions about sports?
So I'm hoping that we survive as well. I'm hoping that we survive for that reason as well, because like, look.
I challenge a robot to say things as dumb as I do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Like already, though, you think about it, short form videos. Like, did you see the ones of the obese people diving into pools, or maybe the cats diving into pools? Like, those are short form videos. You watch them, they're entertaining. You're into it. That had no human being in it beyond prompting and whatnot. Who knows it? But eventually, you'd have to imagine it might extend to TV shows and even television in some instances, or movies in some instances. But maybe I'm being small minded. I cannot fathom a world in which human beings will be interested in watching a simulation of a soccer game.
Well, you say that.
People watch people play video games, though.
Yeah, but that's completely different.
Completely different?
I think so, yeah. Well, I also don't think that people would be interested in watching a simulation of somebody playing a video game. So I think it's kind of in the same vein where it's the human triumph and tragedy that leads you to being interesting. If it's just an AI video or prompt where it's going to know the outcome, or there's no actual beings involved, I don't know that there's a lot of attraction.
But what if the AI becomes so good, I mean, like you said, it's only going to get better in, let's say, 30 years, that it can create a hyper-realistic, indistinguishable from real life, just any football game you want. So in March...
And they're bringing back head hits.
In March, you can watch...
And jacked up his back because there's no physical risk.
LSU play a football season that looks indistinguishable from real life, and you have no idea what's going to happen in the game. It's just like you're watching a real game.
No, people would watch that as a curiosity for fun, but it would still not matter as much as the game in the fall. Now, what could be the case, because we're still really in machine learning, right? We're still not actually in AI. So if we ever do hit that point, singularity, and we get to a true artificial intelligence, well, then we're going to have beings that are kind of just as alive as us. So maybe the far-flung future, there's worlds where like this guy's technically not human in the traditional sense, but it is an AI conscious being that has existed and fought his way up and is now in the ranks. Like maybe once you get to like actual AI, we could get there. But all I'm saying is right now.
Did you just say that there's going to be an AI that will like, as he pulled himself up by his bootstraps?
Well, I mean, functionally, right? Like I think eventually, if you're going to reach true consciousness,
this guy started off as MS DOS.
Yeah,
look at him now.
And it would have to emulate consciousness. I don't know.
I don't know.
We'll see where it goes, but that is why rich people are all heavily investing in sports right now, because it is the last bastion of entertainment in which I think for maybe the longest runway, not maybe forever, that human beings should hold center stage.
Do you think that they're conditioning the children when they have like the Nickelodeon games and there was a hockey game that was all like cartoons, but it was like a cartoon of what was actually happening in real life in real time?
Yes, no, I've watched them with my kids.
Yeah,
the Toy Story one. It was the Falcon Jaguar.
Toy Story kid. Desmond Ritter.
Yeah,
kept throwing all those.
Exactly. I thought it was fucking fantastic. I think.
But did your kids prefer that to the actual game?
Yes.
Interesting.
But so you're right. Maybe this is like a little subversive conditioning, but I still think that's still rooted in the actual humans out there playing.
Yeah.
I don't know, because I think stakes and storylines are kind of what bring us there in human triumph and tragedy. And if it's robots, if it's simulation, I curiosity, yes, but I don't know that it'll ever achieve the heights, or at least maybe the longest runway. Until it does.
Yeah, I think that's.
How long do you think we have until all of? We'll just keep it at entertainment, but I mean, it would be everything. Just is completely unrecognizable from what we have now.
I have no idea, because when you think about tech, it grows exponentially, right?
Right.
So every new piece of technology you create allows you to create, that much more. I mean, we're going to go back to the Enlightenment today, and look at just the tech ramp from, let's say, when Jesus died or whatever you want to say, like 0 to 1776. It's a pretty gradual curve.
Yeah.
You go from 1776 to now, and it's just a straight line up.
You got that cotton gin. It's like, what else?
It's fucking insane.
Why don't we go to the moon?
I mean, okay, so plastic was invented, what, like 1905, I think?
Something like that, yeah.
Sliced bread was like 1915?
Sliced bread, I think, was the 30s.
Which is crazy.
And so now, and now we have, we have machine learning systems that are on the edge of, like, we're on the edge of maybe achieving actual artificial consciousness.
So then if we do have like this super intelligent, conscious machine, is that just going to be the president, the government?
That is, therein lies the question. How could it? So, here's what I always
That's God.
thought.
That ends up being God. Because if it's like an all-knowing, omnipresent thing.
Well, like when those
God. Google
Google VO3 videos dropped recently, the really like photorealistic AI videos that are starting to pop up. That got me thinking about simulation theory.
Yeah.
We're like, here we feel like we're on the edge of being able to simulate a reality, and then you get into what say we're not, and what say it's not, like turtles all the way down and all those kind of ideas. So we are evolving societally and technologically so fast that our physical evolution cannot and has not been able to, a very long time now, keep pace.
Yeah.
Where I think it was the book Sapiens, where or maybe Homo Deus, I can't remember which one, but where they're talking about like that's kind of the guy's theory on why a lot of anxieties and sort of disconnecting feelings are ramping up right now, is because the world around us is shifting so rapidly, but our brains and bodies have not been able to physically evolve and match that change of pace. So how could any of us pretend? I don't even know what's going to fucking happen with college football.
I do.
Like, how the fuck are we supposed to know anything else?
I know.
You'll eat up whatever they do.
Chief, what? No.
T-Bob loves 64-team playoff. T-Bob wants
Jeremiah Love is going to win the Heisman, and
yeah.
Notre Dame will be in the national championship again.
Look, I was
We agree back
telling
here.
all these Georgia fans Notre Dame was going to beat them. I was a massive believer in last year's Notre Dame team. We'll see.
I think that
You're a godly man.
We'll see about
yes, praise be. I think this Notre Dame team is better than last year.
Really?
Yeah,
And we believe in, is it Angeli?
Angeli's gone.
He's at Syracuse.
Yeah.
Who's the quarterback?
They have remember Lloyd Carr,
Yeah.
his grandson.
Okay.
CJ Carr is a 5-star recruit out of Michigan.
Okay.
And then it's him or another 4-star kid they're battling. I think they're both going to play.
Man, I thought Angeli had some juice when he came.
I
in
like
that game
Angeli.
last year,
He's
too.
like
God, he was electric in that game.
he's
He
They
electric.
don't win that game without Steve Angeli.
No, fuck no.
I will always have a warm place in my
Yeah,
heart for
exactly.
Steve Angeli.
Anyway, so it's again, historical leaf on the wind. Like, it's so overwhelming that how can you not end up just being apathetic?
Yeah,
I mean, we're
feel
gonna
like
get to quantum computing, and then all bets are off.
you're a leaf blowing in the wind who's on the edge of the mulcher, though, dude.
Yeah,
That's
for
how
sure.
it feels. Yeah,
For sure. But I guess I try to comfort myself with this is still sentiments that have been espoused by every generation that came before us, but it's also not as extreme.
Yeah, no, it's totally different.
Yeah. But maybe relatively, I don't know.
I don't know. It's gonna be interesting when nobody has a job anymore. What do we do? It's almost like it's like the Tower of Babel fallacy.
Yes,
thing where it's like-
we're climbing way too. Our pride is going to undo us.
and it's like you had during the banking crisis. It was like the too big to fail was not the meme, but like that was the phrase being thrown around. It's almost like this might get so big that it has to fail. Everything just comes crashing down because it's like we're too. I don't know.
Unless quantum computing and artificial intelligence could create like the utopian Star Trek future where all physical like all your survival needs are taken care of, right? Like, can you create a matter replicator where we have infinite food, infinite housing? Can you make money irrelevant, which I don't think you can? Or, I mean, I don't know how that works. But if you could, that could be the path for humanity to survive. 'Cause that's how it is in Star Trek, right? Like, all their old, like, monetary and physical needs have gone by the wayside. And so let's explore the universe.
That's where I feel like there's that's like a utopia, right?
Yes,
It's
and
like
utopia's
utopia
going
has
on.
like the dual meanings where it's like the best place, but it also means like the place that cannot be. And I feel like I do feel like human nature, if it's like they want some kind of spontaneity, exciting, and if everything is just so laid out and you have no needs, that will just fucking tear it down.
Yeah.
Two things.
Mm-hmm.
We will have to have you on when Arian's here because it's crazy the stuff you're talking about that Arian would love to talk with you about. He's
Hell
a huge
yeah.
Star Trek guy.
Oh, really?
And a communist. So, but
My boy.
speaking of, that's his words, not mine.
That's my boy.
Speaking of utopia, you know what's going to be utopia?
New York.
New York City. Yeah, they're going to do it, boys.
New York's back.
I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
And now it's the battle of utopia versus the swagger of New York.
Okay.
Eric Adams.
Dude,
Has he successfully brought the swagger back enough?
I will love him forever just because of that video that came out before he was the mayor.
Of him going through the kid's room?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
It's like, it is one of my favorite internet videos.
Did you see his one the other day?
No.
Because it's like 100 degrees there and the whole city shuts down. He's like, let me show you my favorite drink. And he goes and he's like, you get some ice cubes. And then he just turns on the tap. He's like, New York City water. He's like, that's the best beverage in the world, baby. New York City tap water.
What about the fluoride?
Yeah.
Wait, so do you have an elevator pitch or could you catch me up to speed? Because literally the first video I saw on Zohran was yesterday, just scrolling Twitter. And it was an incredibly charismatic video.
Oh, yeah.
He was canvassing the city, walking up and down, talking to people. And obviously, it's a video that's supposed to make you feel this way. But a lot of people can make that video and still not have their charisma shine through. I thought he came off as pretty fucking likable.
Definitely. Yeah.
And obviously Cuomo's like not very
Cuomo.
likable.
It's actually
we remember all that shit was 4 years ago.
But hey, did you notice? I don't know how closely you followed this, Chief. They pitched Andrew Cuomo as like being funded by Trump. He's like the MAGA coalition, and I'm like, this guy was the antithesis to Trump.
Correct.
Women were printing underwear that said Cuomo sexual.
Right. Yeah.
This guy was the pinnacle of the Democratic Party.
He was going to be the next president.
Now he's MAGA.
I bet you in like August of 2020, if you did like a straw poll, he probably would have been the leader to be the nominee in 24.
So
Let's see if I can find that.
So what are people saying about Zohran's chances?
I think it's locked up
against Eric Adams.
I think it's not even going to be close.
You think he's going to? I mean, him?
he won pretty convincingly in this primary, and obviously the majority of people don't vote in primaries, so he's only going to gain voters.
Yeah,
I don't think people like Eric Adams. I think he was going to win a landslide.
Didn't he get arrested for something?
Yeah, he was getting a lot of favors from Turkish Airlines, I believe. And there were text messages like, man, I sure do love doing quid pro quo with Turkish Airlines. Like, it was the quintessential meme of like, I love doing crime.
The quiet part out loud.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And then I think it just went away.
Yeah.
Like, nobody cares.
But that was like the Brandon Johnson. Like, that's why he can't pin him down. Because he was, he spends, it was like something like $60,000 on haircuts in a year and a half. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I'm supporting small business.
Yeah. And with his wife's like $80,000 office or whatever.
And then he went to, he went over to Germany for the Bears game over there last year.
Oh,
and people are like, why? Like, we are in so much debt. Why are you spending? Because it costs the city, like, I don't know, a lot of money to send him over. He's like, I'm going over there to drum up business for the United States. And if I happen to see or for the city of Chicago, if I happen to see a Bears game while I'm there, so be it.
It's like was it the mayor of D.C., I forget who it was, but a year or two ago took a trip to Augusta, Georgia that happened to be like the last week of April. And the purpose of the trip was like garnering support for sports and something in Washington, D.C. She was just at the Masters.
Yeah. Economic outreach. Economic outreach, dude.
I mean, D.C. is like
that just must be what mayors do, though, because there is constant bitching about the mayor of New Orleans, LaToya Cantrell, doing the same stuff. Going over to Europe for some reason to celebrate how good the city is, even though everybody's like freaking out about it. I mean, look, it turns out when people get in power, they end up being pretty self-interested. It's actually one of the reasons why I think makes today's character kind of fascinating. Not to say that he wasn't at all, because there were even some stories about Washington, like having some of his wife's expenses paid for by the government and whatnot. But on the scale of history, like pretty non-self-interested in a lot of ways. I don't know. We'll get into it later.
I found one of the text conversations between an Eric Adams staffer and an airline manager at Turkish Airlines. The staffer says, "How much does he owe? Please let them call me. I'll make the payment." The airline guy says, "It's very expensive because it's last minute. I'm working on a discount." "Okay, thank you. I'm going to charge $50. The staffer says, "No." The guy says, "That wouldn't work." He says, "No, $50, quote a proper price." The airline manager says, "How much should I charge?" Winky face. And the guy says, "His every step is being watched right now. Make it $1,000 or so. Let it be somewhat real. We don't want them to say he's flying for free."
Oh my God, dude. But why do people in power text like thinking that these are not
on phones probably given to them by the government?
Yes, correct. Like these are not, like, you're not gonna have access to this information. It's unreal.
And why Turkish Airlines? He loved going to Turkey for some reason. I forget all the details.
He is bald. But he never came back with hair.
never fixed it though.
Yeah, I don't know.
Have y'all been following Diddy?
I saw the charges got dropped, and I didn't understand that.
Yeah, it sounds like he might get off.
I would have guessed that he was going to get murdered in jail. That would have been my bet.
But that's kind of what got Diddy into this in the first place.
What?
Was getting off.
Right, yeah, ironic.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was even like an option, but they dropped the attempted kidnapping, attempted arson, and aiding and abetting sex trafficking charges. He's still being prosecuted on the racketeering charges.
Can I ask a stupid question?
Yeah.
I don't know what racketeering is. What's racketeering?
Like organized crime.
Yeah, but that's. I feel like that's.
But how does it relate to what Diddy was doing?
Well, he was running like a ring of some sort, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, but I thought it was like a sex trafficking ring.
But they dropped those charges. So what are you racketeering?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's
You got like an illegal gambling ring or something. I am and I think it's so hard to put people in jail who have money. It is very, very hard to put people.
But
in jail
it
who
seemed
have
like
money.
he was dead to rights, done deal.
Yeah.
They have 48,000 bottles of baby oil.
What do you need that for?
That's where the racketeering comes in.
Yeah.
He was hoarding
With
and
Johnson
selling
and
Just
Johnson.
black market.
black market baby oil.
Yeah.
Black market baby oil ring. I'm still like, I don't even give a fuck about Diddy going to jail, anything, whatever, because I don't spend time thinking about it. But I have been sitting here waiting for the juicy deets.
Yeah.
And where are my juicy deets?
I've been waiting for juicy deets about a lot of things.
That's
So are
what
you?
I'm- yeah, exactly.
You're a nothing ever happens guy, which I kind of am as well.
I mean, I guess, yeah, I guess I am becoming a little apathetic. I mean, there's so much stuff that we were promised in terms of juicy deets, whether it's
Yeah.
Epstein files,
Kennedy.
yeah, and like,
Nothing ever happens.
where is it? Where's my meat?
Ask Elon.
Where's my fucking meat? I know. Also, like, that's
Elon's
hilarious.
like,
It's like
Trump did it.
Elon's like, he's on the list, and I'm like, well, like,
Man,
Of
you
course.
must really hate this fucking
well,
bill, huh?
yes, it was crazier to take that stand, but I'm also like, well, yes, we know Tim and Trump are friends. Like, of course, on the list. If there's a shit ton of people on the list. It's who is like Ohio State's main booster was fucking boys.
Was that
with
Wes
Epstein.
Wexler?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
But it's like, but who was like, because a lot of people can go to a Diddy party,
Correct.
but who was in the back room, where the oil was really getting used?
But
That's what I want to know.
here's like with the Epstein stuff. It's like Ghislaine Maxwell is in jail for this. She's in
Yes.
jail right now.
Yes.
Who was she sending her trafficked to?
Yeah.
Who was on the receipt? She
That's what
was
I'm
doing the
saying.
trafficking. Who was receiving the trafficking? She's in jail for it. So there must be good evidence that she was doing it. But we don't know who. Because they're breaking the law too.
It's again, like T said, maybe it's a little bit of nothing ever happens, or nothing
Yeah.
ever. I don't know.
I am disillusioned.
Yes,
Disin-
that's a perfect word.
Yes.
Disillusioned,
Yeah.
because that's how I think you arrive at being apathetic.
And disenfranchised.
Now that is that like a lack of empowerment if you're disenfranchised?
I feel like
your
I am
agency's
I am
been
a
taken
man
away?
with no nation.
Okay,
I don't have a party. I don't have a nation. I don't.
Oh, that's
really,
definitely-
nobody
yes.
really represents my views.
I mean, I definitely, I would say that I feel the same. I think that a lot of people feel the same, but then I think it's just that weird thing at the end of the day where it's still like, okay, but if you want to be involved in the process or not, then you have to choose one of two. I don't know.
Why?
No, look, I'm with you. Look, I'm a big time, like I exercise my right not to.
Yeah.
But functionally then, like you do just disappear.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I
yeah.
just complain.
Yeah. Me too. Yeah. Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
But
Well, if
everyone
you,
complains anyway.
if you love
know,
something,
but-
you should be critical of it.
Correct. I agree.
If you're just championing everything that somebody or something does, then you don't really love that thing. You're just a fanatic.
Correct. You're a cheerleader.
Yeah. No, like if like what you don't criticize or discipline your kids. Get the fuck out of here.
You
Trying
know-
to make them their best self.
You know who you sound like right now?
Who's that?
Frank the Tank. If you love something, you should criticize it.
Frank does not seem to be much of a fan of the left.
Oh, I was talking about the Mets. But
No, I know. Yes, no.
Frank doesn't seem to be much of a fan of anything.
That's true. I got watching a Mets game with Frank. I watched one when he was in town last week. Just me and him, whole game. And it was one of the funnier experiences of my entire life where as the frustration increased, the fake stats that he made up. He'd be like 9-hole hitters of 96 of 100 with 12 home runs. Or I'm like,
yeah, the
Frank, I
Braves
don't
have
think
won
that's true.
37 of their last 38 against the Mets.
Yeah.
This is, I mean, it's changed in the last 2 weeks because the Mets are on an epic skid right now. They're 1-9 in their last 10.
Yeah, they're god awful.
But there were times earlier in the year where I was just like, oh, I'm going to bet against the Mets because they obviously suck. And then you look and they're like in first place by like
27
games.
and 9.
Yeah.
But it's like my whole Mets view has been skewed by Frank.
You know whose fault it is that they're on this stretch right now. Have you heard?
No.
I know. what you're gonna
Chapel
say.
Roan.
Yeah. He kept
I'm listening.
He kept complaining about Buster Olney and Chapel Roan.
Well, Buster
constantly.
only goes back many years. But
Buster Olney has had me blocked since maybe 2012.
Really?
On Twitter.
What'd you
I
do?
have no idea.
Well, they brought, from what I understand, Chapel Roan to Citi Field for something the day that the losing streak started. And so now
they've tied it into their Pride Night
You
celebration.
can't. Well, they
imagine that.
Last year they were the gay Mets, and they went on like that incredible run.
Well, and Grimace.
And Grimace. And
So he says Chapel Roan is the reverse Grimace.
they doubled down.
Yeah.
You can only hit that drum once.
He just kept going.
Last night I turned it because the Mets went up 3-0 and the Braves beat them 7-3. And as the Braves are scoring, he just goes, "Her powdered face! Her powdered face!" What the fuck is he talking about? It was incredible. And then Mikey Betts joined the stream, and Frank goes, "Mikey, get out! Get out! They haven't gotten it out since you joined."
They did numbers on that stream last night.
Yeah,
I saw that.
yeah,
Shout
big
out.
numbers. It was a great game.
Shout out to the homies.
I did have one more thing that I wanted to talk to y'all about, and y'all, I can't imagine know what this is because I didn't until 2 hours ago. Madeline,
I only knew this through social media. Go ahead, man.
do your children know who this is?
No, I was not aware that this was a television show.
Okay, Mad Dog,
Tiny Chef.
are you
never heard
familiar
of
with
it.
the Tiny Chef?
I just watched the video 15 minutes ago. I'd die for Tiny
I
Chef.
would
Who
too.
is he?
So for those also unfamiliar, Tiny Chef seems to be, the titular character seems to be exactly as he's described.
He's a tiny felt chef,
Felt
stop
chef.
motion animation.
correct. He lives in a tree stump.
Yep.
And he has several friends with whom he makes delicious recipes.
And
Wait, really?
And it's interesting because
He's
it's
a
like
broke ass Keebler Elf.
it's
similar.
but it's they use real food. Like he'll have like a true life size jalapeno that then he'll chop up and make, and the animation is fucking spectacular. But
Yeah, it looked great.
I only knew them through Instagram, and they have like 5 million followers. So I thought this was just like a giant account that's what they made their money from, but I guess they've had a Nickelodeon television show.
My maternal instinct is kicking in for this.
I know.
Tiny
Yeah, so
Chef.
Tiny Chef just released an episode or a clip or something where he receives a phone call from network executives at Nickelodeon who essentially inform him he's being killed, that he will be removed from the network. And he asks what's going to happen to his friends. It's the most unbelievable video I've ever seen.
Can we hire Tiny Chef?
We absolutely should.
I want to get a Tiny Chef. I want to see if they have stuffed animals that are Tiny Chef, because you guys know, or Big T knows, I'm a Jellycat person. I think a Tiny Chef would be right up my alley.
Can you imagine Chef Donnie and
Yes.
Tiny Chef?
Yes.
Collab.
That's what we need to do, dude.
Oh my God! Wait, look I found him with a life jacket. I'm gonna send it to you.
Nickelodeon. I've got $1 million. I did. Oh, and then he gets.
You
so
seem
sad.
you seem like you've loved Tiny Chef for a long
I've watched
time.
him. I've watched him online for a while.
Okay.
Do your kids like him?
No, I don't even think they know about him. I should show them Tiny Chef. The thing that I love, though, I am a massive fan of stop motion animation, and the quality of this stop motion is unreal. In this canceling video, the quivering lips of Tiny Chef, the body language, the direction where after he hangs up, he tries to go back to cleaning, and then he's so overwhelmed with grief that he has to sit down and sob.
Makes Rudolph look like shit.
I mean, it really captures an unbelievable amount of emotion in this tiny little felt alien. It's fucking unreal.
How long does something like that take, or do you have any idea?
I mean, so the Netflix Pinocchio, made by Guillermo del Toro, was made by a Mexican stop animation thing. And like I say there, I want to say there's like this one 30-second clip of the monkey running to the surface, and it took like 4 months or something. Like I feel like you have to have multiple teams where, I don't know about Tiny Chef, but if you make like a movie now, I feel like you have to have multiple teams working on different scenes almost constantly. But I don't know for sure. Don't quote me on that. These are very ballpark figures.
So this is if you have to have multiple teams, we can't get AI to just make Tiny Chefs.
I mean, this is okay. So
I'm watching
you
this
obviously
guy chop
could.
a jalapeno.
It's fucking awesome. It's fucking awesome. So I'm sure AI could. I wonder.
A jalapeno's like the size of a fanoodle.
Would we have the uncanny valley effect to where, like, I think there's like when I watch movies, if something like I think that practical effects just go to your brain better than special effects. Like if you have a spaceship model that you have made and you film that, I feel like that clicks with your brain on a better level than like a really high res CGI spaceship. Even the most top quality. So I would wonder if you were to AI Tiny Chef videos, would there be a certain je ne sais quoi missing from it?
This is fake.
That wouldn't translate. Yeah, I don't know. Because even like Mandalorian was doing something interesting where they were making the 3D model. They were making models in real life of the ships, and then they would scan them and use those scans. And I kind of found that I liked them better for that. But maybe I'm just convincing myself of that because I love miniatures. I don't know. It's tough to say. Shout out Tiny Chef though. Fuck you, Nickelodeon.
I'm very disappointed now, and I didn't know he existed 2 hours ago.
Did y'all watch Nick Jr. growing up?
Yeah.
Like Franklin?
I was more of a Disney Channel guy myself.
You remember Rupert, the white bear with the red
not.
scarf? He's a little UK bear. Random cartoon. No one ever talks about Rupert.
Maybe I didn't.
Shout out Rupert.
What channel was... so you grew up in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what channel was Nickelodeon and Disney for you?
Maybe like 30 or 32 or 33.
Wow.
I can't remember exactly. It's been a long time.
That was our ESPN.
Really? Ours was no. I think I'm thinking Louisiana channels. 35. I don't remember.
Mine were Nick was 63, Disney was 64.
That's actually what it was.
Really?
That's
You had the same?
That's 1,000% what
Nice.
it was. I think 30. I think that's Louisiana channels I just listed. But yes, I now I remember that.
I love that because I hear these people say Disney Channel was 254 and all this stuff. No.
254.
Well,
64.
direct TV
Right.
would be like I think like Nick it was like 290
Yeah,
or
that's
somewhere
if
around
you
there.
were rich.
Yeah. Yeah, which I mean, I was a silver spoon little bitch.
Right.
My old man played in the league, so I did.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I grew up very privileged. Yeah, he played quarterback for the Saints and Falcons for a long time, 15 years.
Bobby A. Bear is your dad?
Yeah. Yeah, hell yeah. Oh, there we go, Chief.
Fucking
Fuck yeah.
I
knock me
just
over
also
with
found that out
a
yesterday.
feather, dude. I
He
did
didn't
not
put
know
together
that.
the Bob A. Bear.
I didn't. Honestly, I didn't know your last name. So
That's
you're T-Bob to me.
He
Goddamn.
he's gonna be in town in a couple of weeks. I'm gonna make him come through the studios and do the car washes.
So there was also a goalie for the Ducks.
Guy Bear.
Guy Bear.
So
So
when
I
I was-
loved Guy Bear. So when I found out about Bobby A. Bear, I'm like, I love Bobby A. Bear.
Bro, when we did when I was a little kid, I don't know how this got set up. We did they did a jersey swap ceremony.
Oh, that's
where
sick.
before the game we got to like go to a Ducks game. Him and Gieber like took all the pictures, swapping
That's
jerseys. I got a Paul Correa and Timu Solani signed stick.
Damn.
It was fucking.
That's
it was,
awesome.
It was one of my favorite memories, and I like loved the fucking Mighty Ducks at the time.
I don't know why they just don't go back to those jerseys because they have the worst jerseys in the league. Those ones from that era.
They were awesome.
They were
I
incredible.
had this Mighty Duck stuffed animal from that night that I kept forever.
That was a cartoon I watched. Did you
Hell
ever
yeah.
watch the Mighty Ducks?
Oh, the cartoon
Yeah,
one? No,
yeah.
stop.
I did.
Because
And-
those movies are like Mighty Ducks is maybe my favorite Disney movie,
They're great.
but the cartoon
I got
is
something to say. You're not going to
is
like
a mockery. Don't say it.
it. Oh, I hate the coach. I hate the coach.
Gordon Bombay.
Explain that to
I
me.
hate Gordon Bombay. I think he's the most overrated guy of all time. To me, he's like
Explain.
the antagonist. Alcoholic, number
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, it's a redemption story.
Hold on.
The kids teach
Hold
him how to
on.
become a better man.
Hold on. Oh yeah, you're gonna learn that from the guy who fucks his player's mom and then leaves her to go play in the minor leagues.
fell
And
in love.
They
That
did
is
not.
not
He was
true.
taking advantage of a single mom. That guy. And he's like,
the
I
dad
know
who stepped up.
how thick the ice is, so I can drive my limb. Bullshit! You did not know that you
That was
endangered those.
vaguely irresponsible.
Endangered
But
those
that's when he was
children's
still
lives.
a bad guy.
Then, as they're going through, he has like he tries to get everybody to cheat, and then he has a mental breakdown, and he has to go skate by himself. He misses a game. He does the exact same pattern of behavior in Mighty Ducks 2, where he's fucking the Icelandic, the enemy. He's fucking their team doctor or whatever. And then he disappears, and they almost had to forfeit a game because he was so reckless. And they had to have the tutor come down and coach as an adult, and then Charlie ran the bench. He was a horrible coach.
But he became a better man
When
at the end of the first movie.
at the end of the 2-week tournament. when they did
you're talking about Mighty Ducks 2.
So was he a better man because he did all the same shit in Mighty Ducks 2?
It's a human failure and redemption story.
Over and over, no lessons learned. Fuck Gordon Bombay.
There, but for the grace of God, go I. You know,
you can't skip games.
Can't skip
Not as
games.
a head coach, bro. You can't be missing.
He
games.
was an alcoholic criminal. He had to learn how to be a better guy.
Knuckle puck time.
Yeah. You're telling
sucked.
me you don't watch the locker room scene in Mighty Ducks 2? Get a little
Oh,
patriotic.
when he takes off the USA jersey for the self-glorification of Gordon Bombay, guess what? We're all ducks now.
Yeah.
We're going to
Chief
throw
is
the
dialed.
United States flag in the trash.
I'd actually forgotten about that.
Yeah,
That's a good
we're going to
point.
put on
Chief
the
is
Ducks
dialed.
jersey. Yeah.
Dialed right now.
It seems like you love these movies.
I hate Gordon Bombay.
He
What
loves
about-
the
what
movies,
about-
obviously.
what
He
about
doesn't like
D3?
Gordon Bombay.
D3, I mean, I was a prep school kid, so I found that very
Is that where they go
relatable.
to? Is that where they're college or prep school? And Charlie joins the.
Yeah.
He joins.
Joins
he
a
gets
gang,
called up to varsity.
probably.
Yeah.
He gets called up to varsity, right? And they the rest
I
don't,
think
or like
Adam
the better
Banks
team.
got called up to
Or
varsity.
Banks, not
Yeah.
Charlie. Banks.
Banks was a
got-
star.
Banks
I
got
honestly
called up.
haven't seen 3 in
Charlie
so long.
quit
I
the
don't-
team. I wonder where he learned that behavior.
Yeah, probably from his absentee father.
Then he's like, I finally have a male role model. He's fucking my mom. Oh, wait, now he's trying to chase out his own dreams, even though he's 37. He's trying to play in the minor league. Oh, and the next time I see him, he's fucking somebody else and quitting on the team again. This guy stinks. He's an all-time villain who gets
You're
people
hurting
love
my
him.
feelings and making me upset. So
This
making good
is
points.
checkmate right there.
I didn't know all this was still on the desk.
Yeah.
All right, whatever. I get, there's nothing I can do to.
Well, from after having that myth of a man
Basically,
shattered,
Urban Meyer.
Should we
Just win.
Stop.
He wins.
Should we see if Washington holds up under such scrutiny?
This is not your show.
Uh-huh.
So just cool it for a fucking second.
Bob's
Okay?
like, and when we're done, let's go find a statue and tear it down.
I was trying.
yeah.
I was trying to just not go over you. I was trying to partner with you.
No.
and
That's
find an
great.
avenue.
You know what? I'll send you the ad that we can do. Why don't you read it? Okay.
I'm actually incredible at reading ads.
I tell
I'll
you
read
what,
the
T-Bob.
fuck out of this ad. Give it to
T-Bob,
me.
I want you to help me with this ad.
Yes.
Let me tell you a little bit about Game Time. I want you to go to gametime.co.
Okay, let me check this out here.
And I want you to check out the Cubs-Cardinals game on Sunday, July 6th. There's
Okay.
nothing like getting to a baseball game, especially last minute. Luckily for us, I always use Game Time, the official ticketing partner of Barstool Sports. Game Time makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the app actually go down the closer it gets to showtime. And they even have exclusive zone deals. You let them choose your seats within a given zone, and you get huge savings in return. You can put those savings back in your pocket and spend them at the ballpark on a hot dog, new hat, or some good old-fashioned Cracker Jack. If you're in Chicago, you can get 10% off zone deals for the Cubs at home on Sunday, July 6th versus the Cardinals. Just look for zones 29 through 32 on the Game Time app. T-Bob, do you have that pulled up?
Look at this. I can actually see the view from the seats.
Yep.
that it's giving me.
Yep, I believe it's like down the first
Unbelievable.
base line, a little bit in right field, from what I recall.
Yeah. Yo, you're
That's
talking about the
best
super
seat.
deal.
That's
You're
the
talking
best
about
seat
the top.
in Wrigley.
Really?
I think so. You get the sun all day. If it's like a night game, you get the great sunsets.
See, so I love the first few rows of the 200 section
It's a good
because
section.
you're under the overhang, you get shade, and it's still great. It's like lower level. You're still.
When I go to a baseball game, I like to get a little tan.
I do not.
Yeah.
I don't
well,
get tan.
and by tan, I
don't
mean
get tan.
sunburn.
I get burnt.
Yeah, I get burnt too.
T-Bob, what is the price in that zone?
We want the super deal, top 1% value. That's a beautiful seat, row 8, section 29, where you're talking about down the first base line.
Yes.
That is $240.
Okay, perfect. That's July 4th weekend, obviously against the Cardinals. And isn't it?
That's Americana right there.
There's a
Cubs
giveaway
cards.
that day.
First 10,000 fans get a Cubs Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah, I mean
How
that
about
practically
that,
pays for it itself.
How about that?
Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code MACRO for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code MACRO for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. What time is it? Game Time.
Now, you said you wanted 200 like that. Well, only $85.
Yeah, there's
Really
there's
worth it.
other great deals
How
too,
about
but that's the zone deal.
Hell yeah.
And Chief said it's the best seat in Wrigley.
I think so, yeah. That's kind of near sort of where Big Cat seats are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Wow. And you know those are good.
Yeah.
yeah.
And they used to be back a little bit like Big Cat's rich now. So he started when I met Big Cat. His seats were in the bleachers, and then he moved them to kind of right field along that baseline, and now he's kind of like
the bleachers. By the way, you would think intuitively those are the cheapest seats. They are not.
They ain't. That's because people want the experience.
Yeah, I did my first bleachers game a few weeks ago when I was coming up to visit.
What'd you think?
We had a great time.
Was it an afternoon game?
Yeah, it was a beautiful game.
How hot was it?
No, it was not hot at all.
Okay.
This is when it was still like it was probably like 50-some degrees. I didn't sweat.
Perfect.
But no, it was perfect. It was great. I did feel bad though because I kept drinking old style, and so I kept having to piss, and I was in like the middle of the row, and it is tight. It was a little tight.
Yeah.
I had to make them stand up.
And then you come back, and people have moved, so now that seat like doesn't really exist anymore.
Yeah, but that's okay though because that's why you sit in the bleachers. I guess right. That's like you said, the experience.
That's what you're doing.
Yeah.
Now the best of both worlds. Let me tell you guys about the Yeti Yard. You heard about
So I've seen that. I haven't been.
Yeti Yard is fucking.
How can
great.
you see the game really well?
What's the Yeti Yard?
It used to be like the it used to be for the ADA. They kicked all those people out of there and put in.
Sorry.
But it is awesome. So they have like kind of like 4 suites that are like halfway up the bleachers, and you have like kind of like picnic tables, and then they have a cooler of unlimited drinks. So it's all you can drink. They'll bring you a hot dog. They'll bring you a burger. And then you are like basically dead center field. So without any, like you have the bleachers experience and that view, but without having to like get there 2 hours early to get a good seat in the bleachers and battling people to go take a piss.
But you would. This is a tough ticket to get. I'm assuming.
You gotta know some Yeti people.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Hell yeah. Yeah. That sounds great.
Before we get into George Washington, Sport Clips is dropping something huge this June, the Playmaker Scents. For a limited time, when you get the MVP haircut experience, aka the most relaxing haircut in the game, you can pick a brand new relaxing scent for your hot steam towel. Choose from a lineup of sports-inspired scents like Early Morning Practice Air, which smells like fresh grass, a cool breeze, and the start of a legendary season. Rawlings New Leather Glove with warm, rich notes of leather. And then Wild Card for those bold or hungry enough to try it, Stadium Buttered Popcorn, which smells insane. Fun fact, it's actually the staff favorite among the Sport Clips crew. These scents are only around for June, and then they're gone, so visit now and try them all out at Sport Clips. It's a game changer. Offer in 6/30/2025 at participating locations only and where permitted by law. All right, so T-Bob, why don't you just take it away since you were itching to so bad? Go do your show.
What, you want to talk about the man who was first in war, first in peace, and first in the hearts of his countrymen?
I would love that.
The
More
founding
accurately,
father
I'd
of
love
this
you to do
nation
it.
was George Washington, president from 1789 to 1797, born in 1732. And when I think of George Washington, I think the thing that stands out most are a bit twofold, is that if you think about other kind of world leaders or people that have influenced the world, like a Genghis Khan or somebody like.
Hey, say that again.
I say Genghis.
Is that correct?
It's debatable.
Well, it seems like you might know more about this guy than I do. I didn't know if I've been pronouncing it incorrectly.
One of my favorite books ever is Genghis Khan: The Shaping of the Modern World, and I actually listened to it, and that author and reader says Genghis the entire time. But as I understand it through Dan Carlin, both are acceptable. And I don't know which is technically correct.
Every time you say that, people are going to be like, "Wait, you just want people to know that you say it differently."
No. I swear to God, it has just been burned into my brain.
For instance, I know that if I were to say you are a better football player,
yes,
than I am.
Yes.
You'd say T-Bob is better at football than I.
Not basketball.
But that sounds pretentious and frankly incorrect to most people. So you just say better than me because that's what people think you should say, even though you know it's wrong. You want people to know that you say Genghis Khan.
Let me tell you about this book I read.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, I know.
Genghis Khan, Shaping the Modern World. It's by one of my... Yeah.
So I would say this. I would say that your attack is so sound here that I have no defense. Beyond saying that it has been burned into my brain, but I know that that's a flimsy,
fine that you do that.
It's a flimsy counter argument in light of your attack.
And I respect it.
I'm also going to now start saying Genghis Khan.
Yeah, I might too.
Yeah.
Well, once you say it feels better.
Genghis.
Than Genghis.
But it sounds like Jenga.
Genghis sounds a little bit more badass, if I'm being honest.
Maybe so. I don't know. I've been saying it like that for years.
He started a gang.
Sure did.
But
more than a gang.
Well, and he killed a gang.
Yeah.
Killed a whole lot of. So here's kind of thing is.
I listen.
Should we do Genghis Khan instead?
Alexander
just on the fly.
Khan, all of these guys, right? What they all are Julius, supreme military leaders, tacticians, strategy, very few defeats, if any, on all these guys' records. Whereas Washington was kind of not that good of a battlefield commander.
French Indian War, he was known for retreating.
Yeah, lost a lot of battles. Kind of got but he's also firmly a man of a more enlightened age, and that is what is so fascinating to me. Is that we have all of human history where everybody who has attained ultimate power has always wanted to hold on to it and maximize it with everything that they have. And Washington is a man. I'm not saying he kill. If you want to be a great man, you got to kill people. That's always going to happen. But he is a man who actually stuck by his principles. These ideas of revolution that they were engaging with in the Enlightenment, and when, because unlike a Napoleon who sat there and shat on empire and it should be about the people, and then what does he do when he gets in office? He gives his brother countries. He just does what he makes himself emperor, right? I mean, Washington, he was like Galadriel. He was offered the ring, and he said no, and he retired into the way. And I think
it
that
was
makes
deeply unpopular when he did that.
Yes, and I think that makes him fucking almost like Jesus-like in how radical that message is, as opposed to the vast majority of human history.
I got a thought about that. Do you think Washington, sterile, no kids?
Yeah.
Do you think if he had sons, he would have been like, yeah, I'll be the
king? It's a great fucking question. No idea.
That's really interesting.
No idea. So maybe that's even a thing where it's like sometimes
there's no heir, so just give it back to the people.
Yeah, so circumstance. Yeah, so
maybe
circumstances. Sometimes you got to have a little bit of luck mixed in, right, and be pushed in some way.
But he would have known, certainly, if he had a son, he'd be like, you run for president, it's a done deal. We have far more dynastic politics now than we would have then.
It's always going to be, everything's always going to be dynastic in the world. Kind of like Chief, I think, is getting at, it's you're always going to want to set up your kids. So that's fascinating. I never thought about that.
It just popped in my head.
If Washington's son ran for president in 1798, whenever,
but maybe he doesn't have to run. Is my point.
I understand, but he would have won in a landslide.
Yeah,
maybe.
Likelihood.
Yeah.
I mean,
so he could. But I have to imagine Washington would not have done that.
I'd like to imagine
it was his whole thing.
I hope that's the case.
I mean,
but I think it's an easier position to take if there is no heir.
Yes,
it is.
Yeah. It is also fascinating to me that this idea that when he gets into office, that everything he does is setting a precedent.
Yeah.
Right? Things that we take now for granted. So even the title of Mr. President, a very humble title compared to what they wanted to call him, Your Majesty, Empire, whatever. Right? Yeah, exactly.
John Adams had a long
2 terms, all that shit. What did John Adams do?
He had a long, the most obnoxiously long title for. It was almost like a boxer entering the ring.
Yeah. Because that's how people had done it fucking forever.
Correct. Yeah.
And to watch this, Mr. President.
Mr. President.
So I think, I don't know, man. I think and we can get into more complicated topics about slavery and his views on that and how they evolved over time, all these other sorts of things. But again, I wanted to highlight, to me at least, how unreal radical the ideas are that he would stick by of the Enlightenment and of republicanism.
Mm-hmm.
That he didn't just he's one of the few that didn't just talk about it when the opportunity presents itself. He was actually about it.
And you could apply your argument to the fact that, I mean, he could have just done it for himself.
Yeah,
and he chose not to.
Yeah,
so it stands to reason.
Yeah.
But he also knew that by not doing it himself, he would be celebrated in this way.
Yeah.
So the temptation, yeah.
Did you know there were actually 8 people in charge of America before Washington? Because we had we won the war in 1781, and then he becomes president in 89.
Yeah.
So they were under the Articles of Confederation.
Right.
It was before the Constitution. So there were 8 guys, including like John Hancock, who's now known just for the signature, who were probably like, give me the power.
So I guess
and then there was like not a real country. Like Britain, the British didn't leave New York City until 1783. So the war was over in Yorktown.
So obviously the Constitution doesn't come about for a decade or so. So I knew that and that he becomes president at that point. But I guess I never really gave any thought to
that gap. Like that, it was like it's
a weird gap. There's a very good book. It's called like Forefathers or something. I can't remember exactly, but it gets into like how it all came about because the country was basically going to fall apart. There wasn't enough of a strong central government.
The currency, the trade, all that shit.
Yes,
the states were like, they went back to being 13 different countries.
And that's where like the Federalist Papers and everything. So I'll remember the title. It's in my Audible somewhere in here. I'll send it to you. But yeah, it's like John Jay and Madison and all them, and they got to convince Washington to come to the what was it, the convention in Philly? Yes, they got to convince him to come up there and kind of preside over it, and then eventually it
Did you guys ever hear that story about Madison? So it was like right when Washington gets elected, he wants to write a letter to Congress. And so he's like, this has to be a great letter, has to be very well written. Who's the best writer that we have? Well, it's Madison. So Madison comes in and he pens this eloquent, beautiful letter about how Washington is ready, and is written in Washington's first person. So Congress gets it like, wow, what a great letter. We got to write something back. Who should we hire? James Madison. So James Madison did like a letter from Washington, which was himself, to Congress, which is himself, wrote another one back to Washington, and then like he wrote 4 letters to himself.
This is a total aside, but I want to say it. Something that pisses me off more than a lot of things these days is there is a particular side of the aisle that does this more than the other, but a lot of people now like to say that like a 10-year-old now is smarter than the founding fathers were.
I hate when people say that.
It drives me up such a fucking wall. Go read some of the things that these men wrote.
I don't want to be the guy who stands up here and like claps for Christopher Columbus, but bro sailed a boat across the ocean and like navigated by the stars.
It drives me fucking insane.
Yeah, and I don't even think he ever thought he was in India, by the way. I don't think so. But that is like so impressive to me. And even, have you ever read the book River of Darkness?
No.
Okay, so River of Darkness is Spanish conquistadors. They're in Peru, and they hear from the natives about this inland city over the Andes. It's the city of gold. So they send an expedition over, and they get to like the start of the Amazon, and the crew. Oh my God. Francisco Pizarro is the guy, and they take a friar and like 30 guys on like basically a canoe, and they can't go back because the Amazon's too strong. So they're like, we just got to follow this. We don't even know what this is.
Full committed, going to find the ancient city of gold.
They go all the way down, and the friar is like, it's basically, he's taking notes in a journal about their journey the entire time. And they go all the way down the Amazon, get to the mouth, and they're like, what the fuck do we do now? They chop down trees because they didn't have a seafaring boat. They build a boat on the shores, and then by the stars, sail that boat that they made all the way back to Spain and be like, you guys won't believe what we just saw. Yes.
So they just popped out of
because what are you going to do? You can't go back up the Amazon and over the Andes because people were like dying and shit. So they're like, we just have to build a boat and get back to Spain. And they did it. So this whole thing where a 10-year-old or whoever is smarter today than like these, it's absurd.
Yes. Well, I mean, I think it just gets into defining.
Read that book,
right? Is it just like,
now you're sounding like one of them.
Well, no. I mean, like what I'm saying is like they're trying to say smarter. Why? Because they may be able to recite how like physics works better, but like that doesn't mean anything. That's not like functional knowledge. It's not, and you always got to be graded on the knowledge of your times, right? I mean, how advanced are you in relation to your peers and whatnot? So no, that's an absurd take for anybody who's trying to parrot that.
Good. I'm glad you agree.
Now, what you mentioned kind of the eloquence of the writers at this time, and something that blew my mind. 6 Drinks That Shaped the Modern World, I think was the name of it. But it gets into coffee. And what I had never considered with coffee is that before it comes about, everybody's just drinking fucking like ale and beer and watered down wine. And so for hundreds of years, everybody's walking around in a drunken stupor. And then all of a sudden they're fucking speeding. Like they are jacked up.
Yeah.
They are fucking dialed in.
Yeah.
They feel more alive than ever before. And it times up perfectly with the Enlightenment. And there's like a lot of like social theories out there that like these coffee houses, because I know in England, the whole point of the coffee house was all social hierarchy was left to the door. So noble, commoner, didn't matter. Once you entered the coffee house, everybody's equal. Everybody could talk in the debates and whatnot. So I just love to think about all these Enlightenment era thinkers who, like, no wonder their prose is so beautiful. They're all speeding their fucking dicks off for the first time ever and putting everything they have into every letter that they write.
Had tea not been around for a while?
So that's where I can't remember exactly. Tea, but in America specifically, they started to reject tea and extra embraced coffee because tea represented England and whatnot. And I actually found that yesterday that I didn't know, but that yes, that he was that coffee became like a patriotic beverage, and that Washington was a massive fan of coffee,
because like coffee was banned by the Catholic Church for I think like 1,000 years.
I didn't know that.
And then it was Pope Clement. I had to Google to make sure, but Pope Clement VIII, who was the Pope from like 1580 to like 1605 or something like that. He's the one who's like, coffee shit's pretty good.
It's pretty fucking good.
Yeah. I don't think this is the devil's drink after all.
Once you get a little taste of that amphetamine, dude, the little speed, it feels good. And it's I want to say too, like the original coffee plant that got out west had to be smuggled out, and it's like this incredible story that involves like shipwrecks and everything. So shout out to coffee.
Coffee's awesome.
Powering the
Segment's
Enlightenment.
brought to you by Stella Blue.
Going from drinking all the time to suddenly just dialed in and speeding.
And wasn't the drinking all the time like a necessity?
Because you couldn't
keep
drink
the water clean.
Yeah.
So it's like
you had to.
Can't drink water because we'll die, so we'll just drink ale and get fucked up.
So real quick, before we get into like adult George Washington, there were just a couple things from his childhood. The cherry tree story is bullshit.
Yeah.
Which I think a lot of people know.
Yeah. It'd be funny, like, and also like his dad died when he was 11.
Correct.
Can you imagine like you're like a 9-year-old George Washington just being like standing there with an axe, being like, "What the fuck did you do?"
Yeah, it originates from the fifth.
What's wrong with you? You're grounded, dude.
Originates from the 5th edition of the biography, "The Life of Washington the Great" by Mason Weems. 5th edition. Were they changing stories in every edition? That one just pops up in the 5th.
Well, again, this is when you start to mythologize the bean, right?
Yeah.
So I'm guessing they were making like more. I ran across the word on Wikipedia as a hagiographic. Is that what it's called? I think
a new word to me.
I think it's when it's like supposed to hagiography. What does it say here? The writing of the lives of saints. So yeah, they basically those early biographies are as much like mythologizing him as anything else.
Let's canonize this guy.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. You mentioned his dad died. Hang on, I'm pulling it up. His dad dies when he was 11, and his mom like couldn't keep sending him to formal schooling, so then he got just a shitty tutor, I think, and he was always very embarrassed of the fact that he wasn't as formally educated as all of his contemporaries, which is interesting given that he's, it's hard to debate.
That's the American story, though. Yeah. Originally, you can come from nothing and be...
Yeah, true. And still a highly intelligent individual. Yeah.
Well, and I think it probably, like we said, circumstance influences the man. Okay, so he can't go the more traditional educational route. Then he becomes like a land surveyor, but then... that's kind of what pushes him then into the military, right? Like what's a great way to climb if you can't go traditional education? Like military.
The GI Bill.
Yes, and that's where he starts to learn about like, and apparently he always had a bit of writing prowess to him, kind of naturally, but I think some of that embarrassment, like I said, bring military, and then also I think it probably is one of the reasons why he had such a strong emphasis on kind of like social civilities and like rules and like how a gentleman should present himself. I would imagine was to in part like make up for a bit of that lack of education that maybe made him insecure.
Yeah, that's interesting because there was no cussing, no drinking,
no
any of that if you were with GW, which is, I have to imagine, I mean, that's kind of a hallmark of militaries throughout history always. Especially so 250 years ago, I would imagine.
Mm-hmm. Now, the no cursing is interesting to me, though, right? Because no drinking, absolutely, right? Rabble-rousing, carousing. But cursing seems like almost an inherent part of the military.
Yeah.
A lot of times nowadays. But again, Washington was really hardcore about this idea of civility and being a gentleman.
On July 4th, 1775, interesting date, Washington issued the following order, quote, "The general most earnestly requires and expects a due observance of those articles of war established for the government of the army which forbid profane cursing, swearing, and drunkenness, and in like manner requires and expects of all officers and soldiers not engaged on actual duty a punctual attendance on divine service to implore the blessings of heaven upon the means used for our safety and defense."
Can you imagine being one of the guys rowing across the Delaware on Christmas? And he's standing at the front in the famous photo, and you're just like, fucking goddamn it, I can't believe I'm doing that. He's like, what'd you say? Like, no, nothing.
On Christmas, no less.
I said it's freaking freezing.
No, it's just I'm a little cold, but I'm fine. Keep going. This is a great idea.
I mean, even that sentence you just read, though.
Yeah.
Mellifluous, just beautiful.
We'll get to it later, but his
honestly, it's a little bit of like a little Harvard mouth. It kind of turned me off on Washington a little bit.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Harvard mouth. Yeah. See, I'm the opposite, where I'm a pretentious piece of shit, and I can get so bamboozled by Harvard mouth to where I think somebody's so much smarter than they actually are.
I was gonna say though, we could talk about it later. His farewell address, which was written mostly by Hamilton, is like one of my favorite pieces of writing ever.
Well, definitely, I feel like, that's kind of established to a lot of the, I would say core principles, but I guess we didn't really end up abiding by them.
Yeah, no, he was right. Everything that he said was 1,000% correct.
Yep.
We just didn't really abide.
It's like impossible.
Yeah, for the most part.
Yeah.
But he's
right.
Correct.
Yeah. He's the only independent president ever. Like, no party.
Wow.
Yeah, that is, and then he kind of tried to stay as impartial as he could. Because it was Jefferson and Hamilton that hated each other, right?
Yes. And Jefferson and Adams hated each other too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they ended up like dying on the same day or whatever.
They became like pen pals later in life, and then they died. They both died on the 4th of July.
I've mentioned this on the show before, but you know what? And now I'm going to forget which one. One of their I believe it was John Adams' last words were, "And Jefferson lives."
Yeah.
He hated Thomas Jefferson so much that his last words were lamenting that Thomas Jefferson had outlived him, and Thomas Jefferson had died like 3 hours before.
Do you know? Have you ever? I think it was election.
He's like, "Fuck yes."
It was either 1800 or 1804, something like that, when they went head to head in the elections, and
that was 1800.
Okay,
if my memory of the musical Hamilton is correct.
I think that's right. But Adams and Jefferson, like Jefferson would leak to the papers that Adams was a hermaphrodite.
Yeah,
he would say
a tale as old as time, dude. Some good old
insane shit.
Yeah.
Like the stuff that goes on today is like PG compared to what they were saying in the papers back then.
Have y'all seen Hamilton?
I have.
I've never seen it. And I love musicals. It's crazy, dude.
See, I don't love musicals, and I love Hamilton.
I liked Hamilton.
Yeah.
I didn't see it with Lin-Manuel. I saw it in Chicago in 2019.
Yeah, I just didn't want to, because I came out. It never came to any of the cities I was in, and then it came out on Disney Plus. But I don't want to watch a musical on a.
Yeah,
it's actually all right.
I'm sure 5+ times.
Okay, I mean, I know, but for my first time though, I want to see
fair.
it.
I think it's coming back here in April or something.
Oh, I'm in then.
Oh boy,
the
whole macrodosing and guests. Yeah,
I love Hamilton.
I've seen it.
It's
3 times, I think.
Oh my God, I've never seen it.
It's currently Wait for It Wednesday.
Is that a thing?
There's a Twitter account that tweets "Wait for it" every Wednesday.
We'll be pulling it up on Game Time to get our tickets.
Yep.
Yes.
That's one of my that's one of my 3 favorite songs from that.
What are your top 3, Big T?
Or
what's your top 1?
What is the it's the Washington farewell song. What's that called?
Farewell song.
It quotes the Washington
It
farewell
quotes the
address.
farewell address?
Yeah.
Does he rap it?
No, he's singing it.
Okay.
One last
One
time.
last time. And then I
that's
love I need to pull up a list.
I have the soundtrack pulled up. It's so good.
But yeah, I love Wait for It.
Dear Theodosia is my favorite.
Hang on, I'm just scrolling through.
Or The Room Where It Happens.
I don't love that one.
That's a big one.
Don't love that one.
You guys don't like what's the King George one?
Oh,
You'll Be Back.
Yeah,
You'll Be
that-
Back. I love.
that's a great
I love,
Love
it.
the Cabinet Battle.
Alexander Hamilton.
Guns and Chips is a good one. History Has Its Eyes on You.
Yeah.
I might have to watch this
And
again.
then
T-Bob, you need to watch
I
Hamilton.
know,
I think
I
you should
know,
I think
but
you
I
should save it for
love
seeing
going
it in
to the
person.
theater. I
think
love
you should save it.
going to the
We'll
theater.
go. Let me look when it's coming.
I'll go.
Counter argument,
Yeah.
it might be good to be familiar with the songs before.
I
we
would
go.
also agree with that.
Uh,
Because it's like going to a concert almost where you know
Yeah.
the songs.
I'm going to respectfully disagree.
Okay.
I want to have my first experience.
Want a virgin
to be-
experience.
Yes, to be live and then go listen to the soundtrack all day the next day.
Okay.
Because I'm so hooked on what I just heard.
Yes.
March
so
4th to
good.
April 26th of next year. Let's go.
Fuck,
Let's
that's
go.
far away, but I'm in.
It's
Who gives a fuck about the NCAA tournament? Not me.
well March 4th. That's like the week
actually
before
don't.
conference.
Oh, we're
starts,
going
so
opening week?
Yeah.
You better be doing game time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually don't. I can't get into March Madness. Doesn't matter.
I'm
That's-
done.
Wait,
I'm kind of
wait.
done with
That's
March
neither here nor
Madness.
there.
too.
What does that mean?
I don't. We don't have to talk about it. I'd rather talk about Washington.
Let's, because
well, hang on. No, we got to do 2 minutes.
Okay.
What the fuck? What does that mean?
I don't like college basketball.
Why? Do you like professional basketball?
Yeah.
Oh, this is okay.
I don't.
Why?
It's just an ugly game.
I respect you 1% less now. Like you're
only 1% though.
only 1%. I like you a lot. You're like an LSU guy.
Yeah. Well, and also, I mean, maybe it's LSU traditionally sucks at basketball too, so that could be a play.
They've had two of the greatest basketball players to ever live.
I know. Actually,
Big
I would
Baby
say-
Davis.
I would say
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Tyrus
Ben
Thomas.
Simmons.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I would say 3. I mean, obviously, actually, well, look, you got Bob Pettit, then you got Pistol Pete, then you got Shaq, but
I didn't
also
know about Bob Pettit.
Chris Jackson, who would go on to be Sharif Abdul-Rauf, who was the first to get blackballed by the NBA for turning his back on the anthem. That dude is like the guy who bridges the gap between Pistol Pete and Steph Curry. It's kind of fucking
Interesting.
insane. But no, man, I don't know, dude. I just don't really like college basketball.
I have a hard time with college
All right.
basketball.
Okay.
And if I'm being honest, I like
sorry,
college
dude.
football a little less than I used to as well. And I love college
So
football.
here's the deal. It's like
Big T's
I
being
know,
attacked right
I know
now.
that.
I'm not-
Well, no, I kind
I've
of agree
been
with him
attacked.
in the sense that college football is way worse than it used to be, but my love for
Yeah.
it endures.
Right.
Yeah,
So-
like I'm going to watch it for 12 hours every Saturday this fall, but I'm
Yeah.
going to be like, this Oregon should not be playing
Stewing.
Iowa in a fucking conference game.
Right.
I'm going to be mad about it.
And I understand that like college football is as sloppy as college basketball is when you compare them to their professional counterparts, but I just like football more, if that makes sense.
I feel like the sloppiness in college football somehow adds something to the
Yes, it
product.
absolutely does. I agree.
Yeah.
NFL can almost feel antiseptic sometimes.
Yes, where it's like
It's
these
too
guys
perfect.
are too good.
Yes,
And
they're-
it's
they're a
like you
little too
need some guy to
perfect.
drop a punt. You need a guy,
I agree.
Yeah.
It's a chaos agent.
Yeah.
Um,
College football play.
so so this Washington sheet that you sent us, T,
Mm-hmm.
probably my favorite thing on here is that he was a great dancer.
Saw that
Because I did not know that.
for
Surprising.
his time.
And I
Yeah.
fucking love that. And I love what's the quote you had written down in here? It says, well, they're talking about how he was an expert and he loved to dance at these parties, partying with many ladies for what he called, quote, so agreeable and innocent amusement. Which is a
As
great
one
way to
does.
describe dancing. That's how I feel about dancing.
Right.
I'm sure Martha felt the same way. I'm sure she was totally fine with it. Yeah, just go dance with her. It's totally fine.
Also, the all-night nature of these parties kind of blew my mind.
Midnight.
Right?
Hey,
about
round
that,
2
dude?
is
Fuck
midnight.
yes,
I
dude.
mean, what else was there to do?
No, I agree, but it's like
Go
in
to
our
bed?
day and
That's
age,
what I'd do.
So it says they would arrive at 7 with light refreshments and dancing. At 10, there would be seats at supper. And then at midnight, dancing would resume until 5 a.m.
It was wilding out
Fuck
back
yes,
then.
dude.
But just imagine, like, it's either that or go home to your house that smells like cow shit
Yeah.
It's true.
and, like, I mean, there's nothing else.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I guess it makes sense when you stop and think about it, but I had never stopped and thought about
Living in the 1700s, there was just shit in the streets.
Well, that's like if you know the story of New York, where all the first floors are up a level.
Yep.
That's because back
There's
when
just too
there's
much shit.
horse and buggies and like no real great plumbing, there was just shit
Everywhere.
It just flowed through the street.
Yeah.
Have you been to Disney World?
Yeah, fuck yeah, bro. I fucking love Disney World.
Really?
Yes.
So you know Liberty Square?
Yeah, love Liberty
Do you
Square.
know about the ground?
No.
There's a brown like trail that goes through the middle of the ground all throughout Liberty Square, and it's supposed to be shit.
What?
Huh.
Yep.
Have I never? What? Oh, okay. Well, next time I go, I mean, look, Epcot is literally like my favorite place on earth.
Really?
So next time I go back, I'll definitely look for the shit trail in Liberty Square.
Yeah.
Did Southern families, Atlanta families, go to Disney more than the rest of the country? You think 'cause it's closer?
I would imagine so.
How many times did you go as a kid?
Well, my mother is a massive Disney fan, so
Yes.
I've been
Yes.
a lot.
Okay.
I would say I've been 7 or 8 times.
Okay. So
I feel like it's just an East Coast thing generally, because I went.
It's so easy to get
Growing
down
up,
there.
too.
You just drive. But also, I mean, I went like maybe twice growing up, but for me, it's been a more recent thing where I had kids and my wife's in-laws love to go. And so they joined this Disney Vacation Club thing.
Now that
And so basically, I've been able to bring my kids like almost twice a year.
oh
It's
damn.
been fucking awesome.
That's awesome.
There's nothing better than after like 10 hours of, 7 or 8 miles of walking, of drinking Epcot beers at like 5 p.m.
I'm going to Germany.
We're getting fucking hammered. The German beer garden's awesome.
Yeah, I bet,
It's a
yeah.
great time.
see, I think now the term of like Disney adult is such a pejorative, and like I am not at all. But when I go to Disney World, even as an adult, I have a great time.
It's a great time.
It's fun.
a great
Disney
time.
World is fun. Anyone that rejects that notion,
I agree.
is just lying.
Fuck you.
I haven't been since I was 16, so I can't speak to it.
I really one day would like a trip with to go drinking around the world just with the boys and girls, like with friends, with adults. I think it'd be very, very fun.
I can
so,
kind of
too.
just do that here.
Yeah,
Yeah, but it's not the same. You don't
Doesn't
go,
have the magic of Disney.
You don't go right from Mexico to
You
England.
probably have to get in an Uber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And the other thing is it's like it's fake. You're like and I mean that as a positive. Like people say you could really travel there. You could really travel. Yeah, but like that's not really what I want. I want to do the theme park.
Yeah.
I'm doing theme park traveling while getting hammered.
And then you go ride Guardians of the
yeah,
Galaxy.
exactly.
ride.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you. Fuck yeah. Good ride. Great ride, by the way.
I haven't been since that's been open.
I wonder what Washington would say if he rolled up in on Epcot.
Bro,
nowadays.
I think
Like,
about
what
shit like
the
that
fuck,
all the
dude?
time. I think
Really?
about that all the time. Like, imagine Thomas Jefferson being like, what is this?
What
the
is-
fuck? How do you guys have time for this?
Have you ever heard?
Where are your fields?
Have you heard Nate Bargatze tell his joke about how he couldn't prove he was from the future if he time traveled?
Yes.
I don't
and
think
thought that was
so.
very intelligent.
It's a great joke. He talks about like if he got dropped in the 1700s and he tried to explain a cell phone. They're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
well, what is it? He's like, well, it's in your pocket, and like you talk to people that are somewhere else, and you can get on the internet.
Oh, so you're a witch.
And they're like, oh, yeah,
How's it-
yes.
like,
They're
how's
like,
it
oh,
work?
what's that? He's like, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
like satellite.
Yeah.
Something. I don't know.
We've talked on this show before. Nate Bargatze from Old Hickory, Tennessee, as well as where I lived for a while. I think I'm number 2 in Old Hickory.
Oh.
Oh,
Yeah.
right behind Nate.
Yeah, I think so.
Also, Nate, Washington would be proud. A clean comedian, correct?
Yeah, and did
Very hard to
an
do.
outstanding George Washington sketch.
He did.
Yes,
yeah,
that
I've
was
seen that
great.
sketch, yeah.
That was an SNL highlight. That is
Yep.
true.
So real quick, I had never heard about this Fort Duquesne deal.
Yeah.
That more or less led to the American Revolution in certain
I didn't realize
sense.
the chain reaction
Yeah,
right.
that had kicked off.
So, as France and Britain fought for territory at the edges of the North American colonies in 1758, Virginia sided with the British. As a 22-year-old officer in the Virginia militia, Washington was sent to the Ohio Valley, which is now western Pennsylvania, with some 150 troops to help repel attacks by the French. Warned by local Native American allies that a small French force had set up a camp within several miles of his position, he led an attack with 40 of his soldiers along with a dozen natives. Who fired the first shot remains in dispute, but at the end of the 15-minute skirmish, at least 10 French soldiers and 1 Virginian were dead, including a minor French noble, Joseph Colon de Vierre, something de Jumonville, who the French later said was on a diplomatic mission. Jumonville, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that in French. Death enraged the French, who called Washington an assassin. The conflict between the French and British escalated into the French and Indian War and soon spread worldwide in what became known as the 7 Years' War. However, in 1765, the British Parliament passed the Stamp Act to help pay for British troops stationed in the colonies during the 7 Years' War. The act required the colonists to pay a tax represented by a stamp on various forms, papers, documents, and playing cards. It was a direct tax imposed by the British government without the approval of colonial legislatures and was payable in hard-to-obtain British sterling rather than colonial currency. That tax was one of the things that touched off the American Revolution. So in a way, Washington was kind of even more in the foundation of the Revolutionary War than even
by accident.
Yeah.
Well, and the best part is this Indian line when he worked for the crown.
Yeah.
So it was when he was working on behalf of the English that he accidentally kicks off a series of events, which ends up with him going toe-to-toe with the English.
There's another myth that I feel like doesn't get talked about in Washington's story for some reason. It was during the 7 Years' War. Have you guys heard about this?
No.
He was bulletproof. Do you guys know that story?
No.
I know. Well, go ahead.
So he was head of a brigade, and they're in this battle, and the French and the Indians, they're more of like a militia, especially the Indians. So they were trying to pick off the British officers.
Yeah.
So there were 17 horseback British officers. Washington was the only one that lived. He had 2 holes in his clothes from bullets, but no flesh wounds. He was on 2 different horses that got shot out from underneath him, and he just walked away unscathed.
So I do recall hearing that one of his horses got shot one time.
It was 2 of them. Yeah,
That's
so this was the Battle of Monongahela, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And this was not it was a defeat, but he restored his reputation from the Duquesne disaster because of that, that right there. Because they were like, dude, this dude was fucking like. He was about it.
Wouldn't believe this
guy.
Guy Washington.
He was out there like fighting, like riding. But that's insane, dude. Hat, coat, bullet holes, 2 horses shot from under him, still made it.
Yeah.
So then obviously the
Or
American...
I actually misspoke a little bit. This got his reputation back after his surrendering at the Battle of Necessity, which was a fort that he had to give up that he got forced surrender when he was supposed to hold. And then he signed a treaty in French. He didn't know how to read it, blah, blah, whatever. Mm-hmm. But that's what he bounced back from.
Yeah, so then the American Revolution happens, and he is obviously the general. I don't know what his official... He was the head of
the Continental Army.
Yes,
Continental Army, yeah. And he was a very dedicated and skilled spy master. Washington struggled mightily to win the Revolutionary War with an army that was perpetually undermanned, undertrained, and undersupplied. So to triumph over one of the world's most powerful military forces, he relied increasingly on his unseen weapon, a secret intelligence network. Yeah. Throughout the conflict, Washington's spies helped him make bold, canny decisions that would turn the tide of the conflict and in some instances save his life. The story of Washington's underground spy network and how it helped Americans win their revolution is replete with intrigue. There were letters written in invisible ink, a rare female agent who went by the mysterious moniker of Agent 355.
What?
An African-American double agent, a patriot tailor who collected dirt while making clothes for British officers, and the gruesome execution of the spy Nathan Hale. And then the CIA says that he was more deeply involved in intelligence operations than any American general-in-chief until Dwight Eisenhower during World War II.
CIA would say something like that.
Yeah, I don't trust much that they say, but
that is so. I said the dancing was kind of the most fun fact that I feel like I learned. This is now the thing that I want to explore the most. Is I need to read some stories about how the Culper Ring was operating, and it makes sense that this would be the angle that he found because, like we said, militarily, and maybe it's not as
they didn't have fucking shoes.
Yeah, they didn't have
something,
right? Like he had to find an angle to a niche, a point of leverage, and intelligence was it. But I mean, yeah, like you said, like invisible ink and all this shit. Like I gotta read more about this, dude.
Yeah, so you said the Culper ring, which was the aliases of all the people that he had kind of working for him.
It's a cool fucking name.
It is cool.
Abraham Woodhull was Samuel Culper Sr. He was a farmer who gathered intelligence in Long Island. Robert Townsend was Samuel Culper Jr. He was a New York merchant who went to like the British military headquarters and spied on them. I'm very fascinated by New York City during the American Revolution. Like there was just a British military headquarters in Manhattan.
Yeah.
And like all.
Well, they got. I mean, so okay, if we have it correct, Siege of Boston, Washington. The England leaves. Washington gets in. It's an early win for them. That's when I believe the English went to New York, which Washington expected them to do, but I think they tried to take New York and they got beaten back pretty badly. And then what? New York would have been, I think, like the headquarters until the Battle of Yorktown.
Even after.
Yeah. So
They
was like
stayed
the
for
last
2 more years.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
While they were like
Yeah.
getting everybody out after the treaties have been signed
Right.
and everything. So yeah, I mean, firmly a city of both countries, I guess.
Yeah.
And the Dutch.
Would have been fascinated to see it then.
Bro, the fucking Dutch. We don't talk enough
New
about
Amsterdam.
the Dutch.
Yeah.
We don't talk enough about the Dutch. There's actually there's a book called Revolutions something whatever, but it credits the Dutch as being the first to actually have a sort of democratic revolution above everybody else.
Interesting.
But I don't know enough to like talk about it.
They had like a spat around this time, I think, maybe a little bit earlier with the British.
I know,
So-
yes, they were the 2 major naval powers,
Yeah.
and their galleons would be like just going fucking
You're right.
toe to toe.
Do you know the expression "go in Dutch"?
No,
So it's like if you're on a date with a girl, it's like, oh, we're gonna go Dutch. You split the tab, and that was just pure British propaganda. That phrase being like the Dutch are cheap assholes. And that's where that originated from.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
very
you're going
funny. I
Dutch.
did
Okay,
not know
you're
that,
a cheap
dude.
fuck. Yeah.
We'll get back to macrodosing in a second. It's brought to you by Roe and Roe Sparks. Roe Sparks are 2-in-1 prescription treatment for stronger, harder erections. They hit the bloodstream faster because they dissolve under the tongue, and getting hard faster means having more sex. After they dissolve, they work in 15 minutes on average. Roe Sparks can give guys thicker, longer erections than you usually have because they get fuller. Roe Sparks give you the boost to last longer, so it's more fun for you both. Roe stays in your system up to 36 hours, so you can go back to back to back, round after round. You can be ready the morning after. Be ready for play with Roe Sparks. With Roe Sparks, you can get the erection that you've wanted. Roe connects guys with medical provider 100% online, so there's no awkward conversation with in-person providers. If approved, treatment ships directly to your door. If prescribed, new sexual health partners get $15 off Sparks on a recurring plan. Connect with a provider at ro.co/macro to find out if prescription Roe Sparks are right for you. That's ro.co/macro. Get $15 off your first order.
So obviously the lasting image of Washington in the American Revolution is crossing the Delaware. Who's that painting by?
I don't know. But Washington had like way more portraits of him. He even had like sculptures where they put a plaster thing on his face to have like a very accurate statue.
Oh, I love those, like the death masks that they do.
So,
and you can
so
actually
there
see
is
what
like
they look
there is a bust of George Washington where like that's exactly what he looks like because
Really?
they plastered his face. But he like knew that he was like a person in history in real time. So he was
which
like,
is rare.
he's like,
That's
like,
baller.
you want to take a picture or you want to paint a picture of me?
Yeah.
Of course you do.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean,
so-
that's sick.
and he would have like the person who did the sculpture, Catherine the Great, was going to have a sculpture. They were going to make a statue of Catherine the Great. And then Washington was like, "Why don't you make one of me?" And she's like, "Peace. I'm doing George. I'm doing
let's
George's.
go.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
This says that Washington crossed the Delaware were 1851 oil on canvas paintings by the German-American artist Emanuel Lutze. Lutze. I'm not exactly sure how to
Sounded
pronounce
good.
Very interesting. It was a German. I did not know. Did you know that the forces that they attacked were the Hessians,
Yeah,
which
German.
were
Yeah.
German mercenaries
Yep.
hired by the British
Yeah, they were, and I believe also weren't there some Hessians fighting for America as well? I mean, truly.
I mean, if they're mercenaries,
yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
probably.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I actually wasn't aware of that either. I always assumed it was actual like
Just
British regimental
Red
troops.
coats, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, on Christmas night of 1776, Washington led 2,400 soldiers across the Delaware River, and they struck the Hessians at around 8 a.m. on December 26th. They killed 22, captured 900, and there were 2 American casualties, but they were from exposure, not battle. That's tough.
Well, it's kind of too. It's such an interesting and bold kind of sneak attack that it reinforces, I think, a bit of that spy master mantra.
Yeah.
That we're going the day after Christmas, leaving the night of Christmas, and then right when they wake up the next morning,
they're hungover.
So
on the
right,
other
yeah,
side.
exactly.
You
Right,
wanna
they've been
talk
hanging
about
out, partying.
The worst December 26th of all time. It's my least favorite day of the year.
Boxing Day?
Yeah. But it's my least favorite because I wake up and Christmas is over.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and now you face the long, cold winter without the jovial celebration of the birth of Jesus. And
King.
right. So it's always a sad day for me. But these guys, I mean, that's got to be the worst.
The only thing that could make
time.
your day worse would be if you woke up surrounded by guns.
Yeah.
And people are like, now you're a POW.
Well, it depends whose guns they are. But yeah. If
either way, if you're getting made a POW, I don't know if it matters.
T's
right.
T's reaching into his own gun safe. He's not going out.
So you're one of the casualties.
Yeah. But gotta really suck to be one of those 2 Americans that, like, one of the most successful military operations of all time. You're one of the 2 who die from the cold.
Always fucks with my head. Or like,
they're probably from Atlanta.
You think? Yeah.
Or like you hear about like when before like internet before information can travel super quickly, right? A war is over. Maybe a surrender gets signed, but then somewhere like a skirmish takes place, right?
Yeah.
And like 10 people die.
Wasn't that
Andrew Jackson?
Jackson in Battle of New Orleans.
New Orleans,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's like war had been over for like a month.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like just that. What a fucking terrible.
But I
thing to
killed
wrap
him.
your head
I
around.
got him. Yeah, sorry. The clock ran out on that one.
I mean, that is kind of nuts that, like, you could be going for 3, 4, 5 months not knowing something's over.
Yeah.
Well, aren't there some and the Japanese are the most supremely dedicated people in whatever they choose to do. But I want to say on like some pretty disparate islands and hideouts there were Japanese soldiers who like 20, 30 years after the fact were found and were still like holding it down thinking they were in active war.
They were like damn
Really?
near 70 years old, being like, can't leave my post.
Yeah, no, just still hanging out in some
Bro, we're making Hondas in Mississippi.
Oh, and he's still thinking about Hirohito.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy? All those Asian car manufacturers, all their plants are in the South, it seems like.
South Carolina.
Oh, yeah, I think
Kia's
Louisiana.
in Georgia.
Louisiana just got a big Kia deal, I'm pretty
Tennessee's
sure.
got some,
Yep.
right? Yeah.
Nissan, I think, is in Tennessee. Yeah.
American manufacturing, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, American jobs.
My great-grandfather refused to ever buy anything Japanese.
Same with my grandfather was the same way.
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry, he wouldn't do Japanese or German. So then he
fair
had,
enough.
and he made some money in his life. So he got a Jaguar at one point, and it would never work. So he's like, "Fuck this!" He's like, "What do the police drive?" So he was driving, like he was a millionaire driving a Chevy Impala.
Nice.
A man
Or
of
the
principle.
what's the Ford cop car? It's like when you think cop car, it's it's a Ford.
I see a lot of Chargers. No, it's not.
No,
it's
it's a sedan. It's a sedan, and if you saw it without cop markings, you'd be like, "That's a cop car."
Crown Vic.
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Ford
yeah.
Crown
Crown
Victoria.
Vic.
Yep.
The Crown
Those
Vic.
like the old Batman movies were Crown Vics. I feel like.
Anybody, yes. If anybody ever has like a used Crown Vic, it always looks like a cop
You're
car,
like, yeah,
even
it's
though
cop
it's
car.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we obviously won the American Revolution.
Kicked their
Thank
ass.
goodness.
Which, can I say something? I always feel like there's never like a real huge like knockout punch landed to England in some ways. I mean, you have Yorktown. It's like surrender, but it's like 8. I guess the numbers are just not that big. And I know a lot of like historical numbers are juiced up, and it's probably just a function of England trying to do a war where you can't talk to each other. It's 3 months between messages, right? So it's like it probably just became impossible to sustain monetarily, all this other stuff. But it is weird that it's very much kind of an outlasting. It's a very guerrilla win. There's not like some major knockout punches or anything. It seems like England just finally kind of threw their hands up. We're like, we're
fine,
done.
we'll go colonize Africa.
Yeah, exactly. Like, fine, we're done.
We're moving on. Fuck
But
you.
anyway, yes, we won though.
Yeah.
Shout out.
Yeah. One of the best wins of all time. You talk about an underdog story.
Yep. Yeah. No, I mean,
Beat the greatest military force the world had ever known.
Major,
16 versus 1.
Major plus
even
odds.
bigger.
So what?
App State.
I think what we did have though is if you're a European country doing battle with England, the Navy's what you got to worry about because they're going to cut you off. They're going to blockade you. You're not going to be able to get resources. Well, that's the thing about America, right? The resources that the country has are fucking unlimited.
Yeah.
And so there was they could not use their Navy, I think, to flex as much as they could against most other countries. I could be wrong there. I'm just thinking here.
I think there's something.
I'm thinking that
to
feels like that could be an element in
and
this.
that was their Navy was like one of the big motivations for colonizing in the first place. When they came over here and they were in New England and they saw these pine forests with the trees were so much bigger and they were kind of out of timber in England. They're like, we can build our whole Navy in fucking Maine.
Yeah.
We got all the mass, because you have these 200-foot pine trees back then.
This is just a fun fact I like to recite when talking anything about colonial America. Do you know if Georgia had its original border today, what the largest city in Georgia would be?
I want to say this is Los Angeles or something.
It is Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Oh, what?
Because they drew all those straight across.
King
originally.
George said, my colony extends from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean, and in what would now incorporate Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very funny.
It was never really recognized, from my understanding. And it went away quickly.
The idea was that's manifest destiny, baby.
Right.
You're like, that is actually King George was right about that. He got a lot wrong, but he was right about that. That's our shit. So
yeah, I guess we made it.
Yeah,
our shit.
Yeah,
darker chapter.
So then, 1787, George Washington presided over the Constitutional Convention, and in 1789, so. We say that would be 13 years after the founding of America, but it was really 4 or 5.
Treaty of Paris was 83.
Right.
Okay. So 6 years.
Yeah.
So I think Yorktown was 81 or something like that.
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah.
We celebrate 1776, which makes sense because that's when the Declaration of Independence was signed. But that was kind of like us saying,
called our shot.
You.
Yeah. Called our shot. Yeah.
And then we had to fight, and then we celebrate the beginning rather than the end of the war.
We should also point out that it is also commendable that he stepped down as commander-in-chief in 83.
Yeah,
because he could have rolled straight out of the war and
this is mine.
They would have given him anything.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And he chose to go back. They said, I read this kind of blew my mind to think about. Out of 8.5 years, he had only been to Mount Vernon 10 days. In 8.5 years. And so he steps down and then he arrives on Christmas Eve. What a feeling that must have been. Like you said,
long way from the Delaware River. Baby.
Jesus' birthday in the air. Yes, the anniversary of that. And my guy's finally rolling up to Mount Vernon once again, back to his
home for the holidays.
Homeland. Yeah,
that's
man,
nice.
He got a few years. So from 83 to 87, then he presides over the Constitutional Convention, and in 1789 is unanimously elected the first president of the United States.
Which is still unique, right? I don't know if they called it the Electoral College, but the electors, whatever they called it at the time, he's the only one to be unanimously chosen.
Yeah, it would have to be.
Yeah.
And
57 years old at the time.
Nice.
Whatever that's worth.
What was
he
average?
lived a lot of fucking life, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had the biggest distillery, I think, in the world at one point. Definitely in the Americas. Mount Vernon was cranking out more whiskey than any other place in the country.
I did not know that.
It's kind of interesting because he was both a rich man, but kind of a not very liquid rich man.
Yeah.
He was kind of battling debt a lot, but he had such vast land holdings that they said the equivalent of his estate would be over $500 million.
And I think,
nowadays.
right, because there was the stat that he was the wealthiest president ever until Trump.
Oh, really?
I think that's.
that's interesting to think
And
about.
I think Martha Washington had a.
She was rich before.
Yes.
She had a
Yeah.
previous husband that
Yes.
she inherited.
Oh, that was definitely
Yeah.
one of the reasons why George was dancing with
Yeah.
Martha.
Yeah.
Let's be painfully clear.
Yeah.
The man knew how to. He was a climber. You know.
So that's a big part of Hamilton as well. Hamilton was very poor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
his
he
are
married
crazy.
like an aristocratic family, and that allowed him to.
I started reading that biography that I think kicked off all the Hamilton stuff. I didn't get it very far.
It's too
in it.
long. It's so
it's
long.
so long, bro.
I
kinda-
looked at it
I
and
kind
I'm
of
like, I
bitched out
can't
on
do
it
it.
too. But yeah, he starts like penniless and like working in the Caribbean.
He was from
Yeah,
he's
he's
from
from
Haiti
the
or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe not Haiti,
He
but
was
he's from
like,
something.
St. Croix, I think.
He's penniless. That doesn't mean I want him anyway.
Oh no.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. I forgot I was dressed as Ben Franklin for a minute too. I saw my reflection.
Which, to be fair, Ben Franklin, he presided over the Treaty of Paris.
There you go.
And I want to say the Constitutional Convention he played a big role in as well. Or when they was the convention when they yes, that's when they elected him president. Yeah.
and
Loved
he
was a
Paris,
key part of
that
that.
guy.
He loved.
Yeah, he did.
He loved the lifestyle for
Yeah.
sure.
Look, and also France was the kind of the
Jefferson
height
did,
of
too.
civility,
Yeah.
you know, and
Right.
culture and whatnot. But yeah, 57 years old when he first got elected.
What was the average lifespan in the 1780s?
It's a very good question. Because as the sheet gets into, he almost died a lot of times.
Yeah.
I was going to say, that sounds way too high. That's 2022.
35 to 36 is what I'm showing.
That was average, but those who survived childhood could expect to live into their 60s or 70s.
Okay.
So median was
Yeah.
60s.
He got a lot of people dying in the war.
In 51, he went to Barbados because he had tuberculosis.
Yes.
And he tried to heal. That's when he got smallpox, fucked up his face. But what I thought was crazy
But then
about
was
that,
immune.
yes,
So
was
he could
immune.
give away all those blankets and not catch a thing.
Oh, it's true. But he was only 19 years old.
Yeah.
And he was already doing all that. And here he is 50 years.
Ginger, by the way.
Yeah,
We,
surprised to learn
we
that
don't
as
think
well.
about that.
Have we had another ginger president?
Yes, and I'm trying to think of who it is.
We have a lot of gingers at the company. Big T.
Too many.
Not
Too
Big T.
many.
Big T's hair is brown.
Big T. Mook.
Big T's hair is brown.
Connor. Blutman.
Connor.
Cody.
Chaps.
Chaps.
Important to note, not Big T. Who was the other one? It was a guy who was like balding.
This
kind of, but his
just
hair was
I
red.
googled it. It says
Who?
Washington, Jefferson, Andrew Jackson, and Martin Van Buren, and then additionally Calvin Coolidge and Rutherford B. Hayes were identified as redheads. So
Wow.
that's like a disproportionate amount.
I'm gonna ask a question to you fellas in the room. What color is Trump's hair?
I'd say he's blonde.
But
Usually
that's
something
like,
like that
colored,
doesn't
right?
show up in nature.
Straw yellow.
Yeah, that color doesn't exist.
No,
in
There's a
natural.
lot of hair.
No, he gets it
There's a
done.
lot of hair that doesn't show up in nature. A lot of hair color. doesn't
But
show
yeah,
up.
his hair's always been that, right?
But he's if you look at
But
Trump
like,
in
what color would you
1980s,
deem that?
It's like strawberry blonde.
yeah, that's what
I
I
say
looked at.
straw
Yeah, it's a
blonde.
blonde. Yeah.
I'd say it's yellow.
Yellow, yeah, actually.
He needs a little tone.
Actually,
He
yeah,
needs
yellow,
a bleaching
yellow is a
tone.
good
Yeah.
call.
I'm looking at a picture of him here that I would say is just like your standard dirty blonde.
I think so too. From 1980.
Your
Now
standard
his
dirty blonde.
skin tone is
But it's a younger man there.
That's what throws it off,
That's
I
what
think.
throws it
You
off.
can't
Why
tell.
is he so committed to the spray tans?
You tell us.
Once
How would
you-
I know?
He's your guy, not
I
ours.
think like
I have nothing to do with this guy.
I think you can wrap yourselves up. You can find something that makes you confident, and then you just wrap.
But how
into
does that
lean
make him
into-
feel confident?
I don't know.
He looks so bad.
I don't know.
Well, that's the hard part with the hair too, is because it's such a strict hairline stoppage.
Well, his
with
hair
the
looks
bronzer.
crazy. Yeah, like his hair looks
So
crazy
it's like
too.
it's so two toned. You can't really get a good
There's no fade.
Yeah,
He needs a blending.
He needs a
brush.
beauty blender.
Yes. Yes.
he doesn't have time for that.
Look,
Ladies.
God forbid.
even Washington. You know, he's out here feeling insecure about his teeth and whatnot,
Yeah.
having to try to overcome that.
powdered his hair. He didn't want to be a redhead either.
Yeah, he was powdering and
Very
curling his
vain
hair.
man.
Yeah.
That was pretty
6'2".
crazy to read though. Is
Yeah.
that he actually would
Big G.
Big G. And they said at the time, I think the average height was like 5'6" or 5'7"
Yeah.
or something. So he was
He's a
significantly
post player.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was significantly taller. But yeah, they said that is so we always heard wooden teeth growing up. Not true.
Right.
Not true.
Because the truth
a
is
little
So,
more problematic.
Well, so you know you have
Give me
some
that
horse
tooth.
teeth, you have some ivory. There's also talks of slave teeth,
That's
and Washington with slavery is pretty interesting to me. Where he had a lot of slaves, and he upped the amount of slaves in Mount Vernon quite significantly. As life went on, he seemed to become. It seems like the Revolutionary War changed him in a lot of ways in his views towards slavery. Maybe it was fighting alongside black soldiers, which they had to accept eventually when they didn't at first, because England was using that as a leverage point against them. Maybe it was just kind of the ideals that they were espousing, that all men created equally. But eventually he was kind of privately an abolitionist, and he did in his will made sure that all of his slaves were going to be set free after Martha died, and I think like a year after his death, she set their slaves free. So I don't mean to. I think slavery is always something that's very tough to talk about from a historical standpoint, because some people think you should grade a scale, others don't. I mean, abolitionists existed, so it wasn't like the idea that it shouldn't exist at all was not around. But on the whole, I think maybe he ends in a bit more of a generous like than where he started on the subject.
I think you're right, and I think that like Jefferson is always vilified for because it's like he had children with Sally Hemings. He only freed 2 of his own children, but then before the United States was a thing, when it was like the Congress of Virginia, he tried to abolish slavery through law in like 1750.
Oh, wow.
So it's like he had like that abolitionist streak, and then he was also kind of a monster. So it's like which story do you put more weight on?
Yeah, it turns out great men tend to be very contradictory.
Yeah.
Right? And then if you're a politician, like this, something like Washington never was very publicly abolitionist because he kind of felt like,
not going to keep the Confederation together with that.
Yes, right? And it's like, I mean, I'm a huge FDR fan, and that is one of the black marks kind of on. I saw you look over.
You have to watch this episode on YouTube.
I saw you look over at T. But like that is one of the things that I would say is not a great mark on FDR is he would not engage with civil rights a lot of times because he knew that he needed to keep the South.
Yeah.
He was a Democrat, and he needed to keep the Democratic South voting with him. So it's it turns out trying to talk about these things and great things can be very complicated, but at least Washington, it seems like, kind of saw the moral wrong of the institution. And even then, like, Atlantic slave trade's way different than maybe slavery of the past because it was completely racially based, which is a pretty big difference. So whatever.
Yeah.
FDR, the only man to defy the legacy of George Washington.
Yeah. We'll see if it happens again. Watch out for your guy.
They did pass. There's laws on the books now.
Yeah, okay.
That weren't there.
Okay. Well,
it was
there's
just a gentleman's agreement before.
Only one guy's done it.
Well.
That's all I know.
Yeah, the same guy that, I mean, what, you don't...
I don't know. The Constitution's hard to interpret. Maybe there is one.
I mean, aren't you an America First guy?
Yes.
How could you not be a fan of the guy who literally guided America to being the premier country in the world from, in the craziest times ever?
We've had a lot of crazy times since, and nobody has been had enough hubris to think that they alone could do that.
Why don't we just have a Trump versus Obama?
Well,
I saw that the other day.
So you know what fascinates me is when I read the FDR biography, I was blown away with how Trump-like the way in which he moved was. Like it different politics,
wheelchair?
But like stacking justices, being like really vindictive once you cross him, but if you're on his side, like he can make you whatever. Like they were actually incredibly similar. Both very effective.
Couple of rich guys from New York.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Is FDR from New York?
Yeah.
How many presidents are from New York? I feel like it's
probably a lot. I mean,
I think Virginia is the most.
Oh, that
yeah,
makes
but
sense.
that was against plumbers. They stacked those all in the first 10.
Teddy Roosevelt, Franklin Roosevelt, Martin Van Buren, Millard Fillmore, and Donald Trump. Yeah,
I would have thought more.
But anyway, sorry, didn't mean to go on the FDR sojourn there.
No.
Yeah, well, I mean, so yeah, Washington becomes president. He's reelected in 1793.
I think it was I had it written down here. Might
Yeah.
be 91. He was 61 years old. Then.
Unanimously reelected for a second term in 1793. And then he comes to the end of his second term, and everyone wants him to continue being president because he's the most, I would still say probably the most revered American to ever live. I mean,
He's definitely got the most myth. Yeah. He doesn't feel real.
like, I think if you asked plenty of Americans now, who's your favorite president, a lot of them would say George
I
Washington.
think a lot of them can't name that many.
That's probably true as well.
It
but-
is interesting though, because I had kind of read that politics came for him in the end. That by the end of his second term, that a lot of kind of partisan press, political foes were accusing him of being like ambitious, overly greedily. He came to regard the press as like a disuniting force, which I think
They are.
all people, all people who are,
Some things
suffer
never change.
under the glare of the press definitely do. But again, I think the people probably loved him for the most part, and he could have continued as long as he wanted. But that there was I just found it to be kind of interesting idea that there was a like politics comes for everybody.
But I think he was the guiding force that kept, because there was the Federalists and the Democratic Republican Party.
Yeah.
And so they began warring a lot, and he was kind of the steadying force
That is
between
definitely
those
true.
two.
Yeah. That is definitely true.
So we don't have polls, but it was very popular that he would continue being president.
He definitely could have done a third term.
Yes, without a doubt.
I do also I love the fact that because we had the background as a surveyor, like he really helped design Washington D.C., like the whole layout while he was president.
That's cool.
So he never lived in the White House.
Kind of a poorly designed city.
Why do you say that?
The streets are in a very, it's laid out to be a very visually appealing place.
Correct.
But it's impossible to maneuver.
It's laid out as a symbol for the Illuminati and the Freemasons.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I mean, they were all
Look at that.
Freemasons.
They're all Freemasons, yeah. So there's a lot of Freemason shit in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, it's why the traffic's so terrible,
Probably.
despite not that many people living there.
Yeah. But it's cool.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Beautiful buildings.
Yeah. But I like the idea of the president being like, oh, well, George, what'd you do today? He was like, measured a hill.
Well, he was
doing my presidential
He
duties.
was land obsessed.
Yeah.
Like he built a landed empire. Probably one of the weirder stories that I heard that I don't think reflected very great was like
Eisenhower's a surveyor too.
really?
Yeah. So
I did not know
he
that.
was instrumental in doing. So he did that. So he was a football player at West Point, got a knee injury. So then he went into like these other fields and he became a surveyor for the military. And like when we did the big highway system
like
in
all the
50s,
interstates
which
and
was
everything. Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
Like he was doing a lot of
No
like the survey.
fucking way.
Not like a lot, but like he was
it
involved
is funny
in that.
too how that ties in the military, because so much about, and maybe this is more ancient than once gunpowder gets involved, so I could be wrong here, but like so much on ancient battlefields was their setting.
Yeah.
Who had the high ground? What type of ground
The
was it
300.
on?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's
Thermopolis?
very interesting.
Yeah.
No, I did hear about one story though, where maybe like Washington was supposed to give a bunch of land to veterans, and he like surveyed the land, chose the land, got the land, and then he told them like, actually, this land's not going to grow anything. Let me buy it off of you. And then maybe some of them felt a bit duped or taken advantage of. But the man knew land. The man knew land.
I mean,
for
that was
sure.
kind of the coolest thing you could have back then.
Yes, it still is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Turns out it's like the most finite resource.
Yeah.
And, I mean, think about every rich asshole you know from California. Commercial real estate.
Mm-hmm.
Thank the good Lord for it. He ain't making any more of it.
Exactly.
That's what song is that? That's "Buy Dirt" by Jordan Davis. Great song. Check it out.
Isn't
Yep.
Jordan Davis like an LSU guy? I don't know shit about country
I believe
music.
he is a Louisiana guy. Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Suck it,
How do
T.
you, how do
probably
you
watches
feel about, speaking of land, how do you feel about property taxes, T?
I mean, it's
Because do you ever really own
so.
your
Let
land?
me think about.
Do you
So
ever
let's
really
think about
own your
this, Chief.
land?
Let's think about this.
I don't think you're just
I
leasing it from
go
the government.
To purchase a house,
Mm-hmm.
the house costs $450,000.
Yeah.
I give you $450,000.
Nice cash
Nice
offer.
cash
Got
offer.
it.
Cool.
In
Yeah.
any other transaction in this country. If you have a shirt that I'd like to purchase and the shirt is $40, I give you $40. I now own the shirt.
Nah, you got to pay some other guy.
What do you mean?
That some other guy actually owns that shirt. So if you're going to use it,
right.
Yeah.
So I'm free to do whatever I want with that shirt. I can wear it. I can cut it up. I can throw it away and give it to somebody else. I can do whatever the hell I want. If I purchase a home from you, however,
talk to me, T.
We have made a transaction. The $450,000, I give you that. You give me the house. But now there's just this other guy involved. It didn't have anything to do with the deal whatsoever. But he just has dominion over everything.
Yeah.
And he says, actually, you're going to have to pay me $6,000 a year for the right to live in your own home.
Correct.
Yeah, that's nonsense.
And then there's stacks of that.
Right.
So
I don't even know. I've never paid property tax. I don't even know what that costs. It might be more than that.
The mayor's knocking on your door, state, federal. Property tax comes for everybody, and I think it's bullshit. Because I bought that house. Why do I have to pay you twice a year?
Precisely. And in the states where you don't have to pay state income tax, the property tax is worse.
They always get you.
Yep.
I think Louisiana has them all. Property tax, sales tax, income tax, everything.
Everything is taxed.
And then let's talk
But,
about sales tax while we're talking about tax. Okay, we come to work, right? We come to Barstool Sports. Barstool Sports gives us money for the services we provide here. That money is taxed.
Yep.
From it going to Barstool to coming to us. Okay, now I have the money that's already been taxed. I go to spend it at your shirt store. When I buy the shirt, that money's taxed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now you take that money to go buy. You go to Raising Cane's to go buy a
I gotta tell
box
you,
combo.
the gas I put in my car to go to Raising Cane's taxed.
Yep. So then you go to Raising Cane's, you buy a box combo with extra toast, no coleslaw. It's taxed again. The same
Good
money that was
choice.
already taxed twice since I've given it to you.
How many times?
If you were,
How are they in $37 trillion of debt? They're taxing
if
me
you
into
were
oblivion.
to propose this idea with it not having already existed, you'd be shot.
You should be.
You'd be shot in the head.
Isn't this kind of dude in Washington a little bit, though? I mean, the idea of like a strong central government and taxes
Brother,
and whatnot.
you now move your chair over.
He is. It's funny. It's actually, the way we're seated is actually perfect. I think you should be maybe a little closer over here, but it's perfect. At least from our perspective.
Yeah. For sure.
I did want to talk about, before we finish, Washington's farewell address.
Yes.
Which he had Hamilton help him craft, which is in the song One Last Time in Hamilton. A beautiful, beautiful song. Yes. And so I didn't know till looking this up. I thought this was a speech he gave. It was never orally presented. Right. It was never actually orally presented. It was written in the American Daily Advertiser in Philadelphia. And in it, George Washington emphasized, most notably, his disdain for political parties, which came from, as we were talking about, the Federalist Party and the Democratic Republicans, which would more or less later become the two parties we have now.
Well, it kind of begs the question, and I know we got to go, so I don't want to get a tangent, but like,
buddy, it is very hot in here, but we can stay in here as long as we don't want.
Saying, like, realistically.
This is going to be the shortest episode I've ever been on.
Oh, okay.
We're at 2 hours.
Yeah.
I was going to say, though, but like, realistically, is it, can you have more than two parties?
No. And that's the thing that I think a lot of.
So, like, it doesn't matter
Other
about Democrat,
countries
Republican.
do.
It's more that just, like, you kind of naturally get funneled
But
into
other
this
countries
teams.
have a different system where it's possible.
Yeah.
Here, if you have an idea that's very popular, similar to, like, the Green Party or the Tea Party or something, it's just going to get adopted into one of the large 10.
Yeah, and if somebody's listening is like, well, yeah, I mean, like, campaign finance, I get it. Like, right now, Republicans and Democrats have stacked the deck to where they're going to remain forever. But I just mean, like, you look throughout American history and different names rise and fall, but you always kind of funnel back to just having, like, two major players.
I can't remember where I saw it. I think it was a clip of something, but they're talking about how the two-party system in America is so deeply rooted that it is in the architecture of Congress.
Okay,
so it's
so
like
that's
they have
the
like
function
their
of it.
private meeting rooms, in the back halls of Congress. There's only two.
Yeah,
There's a Republican one and a Democrat one. So if you're an independent or you're some other trying to start a third party, a real third party, you're fucking in the hallway. Like
Right.
you don't even have the physical room to go meet. So yeah, like
And even the people who say they're independents, Bernie Sanders,
he caucuses with the Democrats.
comes time to run for president, he's a Democrat.
And
but that gets into like campaign finance problems and stuff because you like you can't get in the debates.
Right.
You can't.
It also gets into fraud and corruption because they stole 2 different primaries from him.
Yeah, they put their thumb on the scale for Hillary with the what are they called? The
Superdelegates.
The superdelegates. Yes, the superdelegate bullshit, dude.
Do you remember the story
trust
about?
me, I was feeling the burn back in the day, T.
Do you remember the story about Iowa in 2016?
I don't know.
So there were like, I want to say it was like 8 counties that were so close in the Iowa caucuses that the tiebreaker was a coin flip. Hillary somehow won all 8.
Wow.
And that,
Look at that.
There
Thumb
is-
on the scale.
There is an argument to be had, and it's really not even an argument. If in 2028 the Democratic primary is not rigged in some way, the Democratic Party will have gone from 2008 to 2028 without having a legitimate primary.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they rigged it last time against, there were 3 people who tried to run, RFK most famously, but Marianne Williamson and somebody else. And they're just like, if you actually win delegates, those go to Biden.
Yeah.
They like changed the rules. They changed the rules like before this. So it's like you cannot win. We're picking our candidate.
It turns out the people in power want to create a system in which they can
I prefer them
choose
to keep picking. I think they have a bad track record.
incredibly
But
bad track
I think
record.
that's
I
probably,
think it's bad for the American people.
Here's an idea that I've had for a long time. What if we abolish parties? Like there are no parties. You have to vote on every issue a la carte. So then I think it would be a lot easier to bring people.
I'd say that's a different form of government than what
So,
we have.
but then I wonder,
agree.
like, do you just naturally? I mean, you abolish parties, but then like,
You would probably naturally
does it just get renamed?
I don't, but it's like if you can't, like, I do, like, you have a majority and minority whip, and it's like I have to whip up votes, and you do that with the power of the purse, where you saw Trump going after Massey, like, we're gonna primary you, all this, like, against you for your reelection.
Yeah.
What if it was just like, yeah, we got enough signatures. I am a candidate. I don't have a party, so if I want to vote for, I don't know, a war powers resolution,
Yeah.
I can do that without, like, in good conscience and just vote your own faith and your own heart as opposed to what your party is demanding of
Well,
you.
and now I mean, but this is all a function of
It's
feel
pie
like-
in the sky stuff.
I know, but this is all a function of once you allow money to be free speech and money enters politics, and that takes away.
think that is maybe
takes over everything.
one of the worst Supreme Court rulings of all time.
Yeah, that takes over everything.
Yeah.
Because at that point, nobody
Corporations
can,
are people too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a Princeton study back in 16 or 17, and this was the single thing that broke me more than any other.
Oh no.
Where they they looked at what the chances of a bill getting passed were based on public opinion versus special interests, and whether or not the bill passed, it was almost irrelevant how the public felt. Did not matter if they were super against, did not matter if they were super for. The only thing that tipped the scales was the dark money.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, once you read something like that, how do you ever have faith in anything again?
I would argue, though, I would say there is a very small portion of that plays into that is people, not unlike yourself, who are completely resigned to the political process, don't vote. And once these guys get into Congress, they're there for 40 years. They know they're fine. Once you're the incumbent, done deal. I remember the congressman in Knoxville when I was in Congress, John... Now I forget his name.
Kane. No, that's
John, what was his name? Anyway, John Duncan. He had been in Congress literally for 40 or 50 years, and usually he just ran unopposed.
Yeah.
I was actually at for a project in one of my...
Do you retire a millionaire?
Oh, certainly.
Yeah.
For sure.
I for a project in one of my political science class, I covered his like election night party in 2016. And so he won 100% of the votes. So we're just there.
That's a Saddam Hussein number.
Yeah. So, actually, no, he did have a Democrat that ran against him because I interviewed the guy. He was a whack job, and he got 3% or something.
Okay.
Anyway, so I met this guy's party, just filming stuff and interviewing people. And then I see people start going over the TVs, and they're starting to be like, Trump's like doing really well. And then I raced home, and I was like, shit, we got to go turn this on. Like I was under the impression Hillary was gonna
everybody was.
wipe him.
Yeah.
And so that's where I was on election night in 2016.
Nice.
How
many people at this party for a congressional seat?
It was in a sizable hotel ballroom. I would say there were 150 people.
Oh, okay. That's more than I would have guessed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, at the same time, it's like, everybody knew what was happening. This is their, 10th, 20th time electing him to be.
So,
right.
It's like when the Braves fan stops going to playoff games.
Yeah.
We've done this already. Yeah.
Hang on. I'm trying to find him. Oh, excuse me. He's actually John Duncan Jr. His father, John Duncan Sr., was in office from 1965 to 1988. And then he was in there. He may have taken over in 88 or 90.
A lot of dynastic families in Tennessee, huh? Didn't the Gores, wasn't Al Gore's dad the senator, and then Al Gore became the senator?
Everybody wants to do what their dad does, dude.
Yep. Jimmy Duncan took over in 1988 until 2019.
If you can. That's crazy.
So they were there for 55 years combined.
Tennessee runs on Duncan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
And then I think Tim Burchett, who was the mayor, took over for this guy, and now he's in the news every so often. He's big into the aliens. He wants to declassify the aliens.
Okay, so be on the. I'm sure Macrodosing already knows about this, but have y'all heard about the new alien documentary that is starting to make the rounds? It's not. They showed it at South by Southwest.
Okay.
It is not. I don't think it's gotten a wide release yet. I'm not sure on when it is. Is it called Undisclosed? But it is. No. Undisclosed looks like something else. I got to remember the name of it. But
Age of Disclosure.
Age of Disclosure. Yes, it is supposed to be a movie like full of very legitimate politicians, military members, and others saying like what they know about potential alien activity, and it's supposed to be pretty fuckity with your head. Like I
don't know what to believe about this stuff.
I know,
anymore.
and neither do I. I mean, you see some.
I googled Tim Burchett aliens, and the first article that came up is from January. Burchett says he believes aliens have underwater bases on Earth.
Yeah, Atlantis. Burchett's onto something here too.
Yeah,
no. But no, so this is, I don't know when this comes out. I'm very excited to see it when it does, but it does seem to claim that extraterrestrial intelligence exists. I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, when this has distribution, I will watch it.
Yeah, I will watch. Like even if it ends up not being well reviewed or nobody actually does think it's that legitimate, I will 100% watch it.
Are y'all? Maybe this makes me nuts. I don't know. I don't care about the aliens. I don't think they exist, which plays into that, but I just don't. And I think there's been a lot of things that have come out in the last few years that prove that most people, like you could show them and nobody really gives a shit.
I think
if it was like an Independence Day where it's like, that's the shit.
That's different, obviously.
Well, even remove the weapon or call it, what's the Amy Adams, Arrival. Thank you.
Arrival. So
no,
good.
Listen, if you showed me the aliens, completely different set of circumstances.
Yeah.
I think that though. Okay, so I think I doubt aliens because the mathematical impossibility of it, not just like distance and time, but the Fermi paradox, which is where like a society reaches the ability to destroy itself. How long can you last after that moment? Now that we have nukes, we're there. But it's like, do you have two civilizations that can both get to that point, get past that point, manage to somehow overcome impossible spaces? Because you have to time up not just space-wise, not distance-wise, but time-wise on your own personal timeline. So like, when I see alien stuff, I generally think it's just like some advanced military tech.
Yeah. So the idea that I am alive at the same time where they're trying or are making contact feels, I agree.
It's like mathematically impossible almost.
Like, I think that it's mathematically impossible that they don't exist somewhere.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. There's life out there. I mean, it's an infinite, functionally
like
infinite.
So then you do believe in aliens.
But they could have come
not
here
that we've had
500
contact.
million years ago.
Oh yeah, I feel like other life existing elsewhere in the universe. It would be unfathomable to me that that's not true. No single-celled organisms, no nothing, no.
Okay,
nothing else.
but I'm talking. There are other
Intelligent?
human intelligent?
Yeah, I think there's. I think in the vast infinite possibilities, there's got to be some sort of intelligence.
Do you ever think that maybe they were here 500 million years ago?
So here we would arrive at the thing that would, I think, overcome what I was just talking about, which is, yes, if we're like seeded.
Yeah.
The Prometheus theory. Like if we're seeded, then that does kind of change things, because then all the mathematical randomness is removed from the equation because we were planted like a flower.
Yeah, and I don't even know if it has to be like humans were planted specifically, but it's
like life, like an organism.
Yeah,
Like
and then it just
yes.
let's just throw this over there and check on it in 500 million years.
Like a tree spreading pollen.
Yeah,
just spits it everywhere, and sometimes it takes root. Just come in little alien sperm on all these little planets and see if a baby grows.
Well, have you read you know what the John Marco Allegro, Dead Sea Scrolls?
No.
It's a whole book. So he was like a minister, but he was like the foremost expert in languages and deciphering things. Ooh. So they find the Dead Sea Scrolls in like the 60s.
Yeah.
And they sent him to I want to pull up the name of this book because it's like John Marco Allegro wrote a book about, it was like Dead Sea Scrolls and the Christian myth. And it was all about how what was in those Dead Sea Scrolls has been edited out of all the other Bibles.
Yeah, like the Council of Nicaea and stuff, when they chose like what was going to go
but
in
even
and what wasn't.
before that, because this is like pre-Old Testament stuff.
Actually, the Council of Trent, but continue.
Is it really?
Yeah,
I thought it was
Nicaea is often confused. Don't worry about
it. But he was basically like Christianity was based out of like a fertility cult, and he would call like rain was like God's cum and like the mushrooms coming up, so people would like get super high on mushrooms and like fuck, and there was like Christianity was originally, if I'm getting that right.
So here's something that we it's interesting to think about.
But the Catholic Church bought that book out of circulation.
Yeah, they wanted to completely.
Yeah.
Oh wait, like the actual book, like that that Allegro wrote.
So he wrote two. So he wrote The Sacred Mushroom and the Cross, and then he wrote The Dead Sea Scrolls and the Christian Myth. So it's basically all about like what early Christians were actually up to, and that's what he got from reading the Dead Sea Scrolls.
And it's like, as someone who is a massive fan of mushrooms, it is so easy to see how religion and mushrooms go hand in hand in so many cultures through time.
Yeah.
And kind of expanding your mind, opening it up, making insights and connecting threads that you haven't previously. That's pretty.
Do you know like how that's tied to like Christmas?
No.
The theory is that like the Amanita muscaria? Am I saying that right? It's the red and white, like the toad.
Oh, like the toad, like your traditional toadstool. Yes, I know. Yeah.
So they think that's really how the Christmas colors became a thing. It was like the red and white, and the packages were under the tree, okay? Because those mushrooms in the winter
under the tree
in Russia and in Siberia. So you would have these like religious leaders, pagan leaders, and they would pluck the mushrooms and drop them down the chimney because the snow was snowing in the main entryway. So your gifts were coming down the chimney. And people would get fucked up on these mushrooms.
Oh my God.
And then the reason that elk and reindeer became a thing, like flying reindeer, is because the elk would smell them and want them too, and they would trip balls. So those were like the reindeer. That's how they kind of became incorporated into like the Christian Santa
God,
myth.
dude.
Yeah.
I mean, and the Rus kind of a Viking
allegedly
culture
that's
tradition.
just one of those stories.
But like we know that like Viking cultures and Rus and everybody used to love psilocybin mushrooms. I mean, again, I get it.
Yeah.
It's especially if you put yourself in the idea of maybe not understanding scientifically exactly what's happening to your body to like poison your spine, make your nervous system blah blah blah. Like, yeah, you would eat that. How would you not think it was something divine?
You're having some out of body experience.
Something absolutely religious.
Yeah.
And then you get into like, okay, so when you edit something and you call it the Bible, then is it
greatest story ever told? Am I right, T?
So look, you know that human beings are the one that have edited and written and everything. But I guess the counter argument would be, but you just say, well, no, they were divinely inspired. So yes, these Dead Sea Scrolls and everything else got edited out of it, but that's because they were divinely inspired. And look, I think that argument can be, it can be interesting because sometimes you can kind of clearly draw almost like what political goals of the day would have been to how some of these lessons get formed. But I don't know. I love church, to be clear. Like, I love church. I go to church every Sunday. I think it has a lot of value in my life. But
I am very pro-religion. I want to state that for the record. But so this is like I don't know how I would phrase this exactly, but there's a line in Scripture where it says, I think it's in Genesis, where it's like, before the heavens of the earth there was the Word.
Yeah,
the Word was God.
And
the Word was with God. So like before anything, there was like, if you can interpret that as before anything, there was human value.
Good. Yeah, there was moral good and moral bad.
Right. So it's almost like,
so it's not a construct.
Correct. So it's almost like throughout our existence as a species, we had to discover values and morals almost the way that you would discover math. It's like math is universal.
Oh, interesting.
So it's like, even if humans don't exist, 2 + 2 is 4.
Yeah.
And you can maybe with morals, it's kind of the same. And then through tribes and cavemen and all this shit, we're like learning, like, don't cheat on your wife. That fucks up your whole life.
Yes.
And that fucks up the community. So you kind of, it's like a distillation down through 200,000 years of living in groups of the way to be.
Yeah.
And the way to be was always there. Well, we had to discover it through human experience.
Fascinating. Yeah. Because it's like theory of relativity. We figure out how mass interplays with time and gravity, and so it's just that same thing, just from a moral perspective.
Yeah, and I think if you try to live your life by those morals, you're gonna have a great life. You're gonna have a great life.
You're gonna have a great life. I've always said that.
And it's like, if you haven't, like, you've met people who are living through hell, and a lot of times it's choices that
bit of their own creation.
Correct. So it's like, ooh, baby, heaven's a place on earth. Okay, so you just have to, if you live your life the right way, you can kind of create your own heaven.
I really, really like that. That from a theory, like from a theory standpoint. I've never made that connection before. It's fucking fascinating.
Who knows if it's true?
I vehemently disagree with your interpretation, but I see what you're saying.
That's fine.
Yeah, it's John 1, by the way.
John 1 is where that comes from?
I think it's the beginning of the book of John. In the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God.
It's a legendary line.
Yeah.
It's a legendary line.
It is John 1.
And then, but then you even get into like,
book.
It's like, because, the Bible, it's not just editing everything, but it's also translations that make things kind of complicated.
Mm-hmm. So I started
Are you Catholic or no?
No, I'm not really denominational at all.
Okay.
But I guess,
because that bothered me when
Presbyterian would be the closest thing.
Okay.
Then.
So I'm Catholic, and I remember like maybe 20 years ago they were like, actually, we got some of that shit wrong that we've been telling you for forever. So we're actually going to change the words and we're going to sing a little bit more. I'm like, we've been doing it this way for 2,000 years, since Vatican II. We've been doing it this way since Vatican II.
I've been trying to get on this show a guy named Wesley Huff, who's an ancient text scholar and a Christian apologist who knows just everything you can ever imagine about every. I would love to talk. And we've DM'd him. We've been trying to get him on. You should go listen to some of his stuff. He's amazing.
Text me his name when we're done.
Okay, yeah.
I remember.
And also the book, The Case for Christ, goes into a lot of the textual questions like that.
Wait, hold on. Wait, the what is The Case for Christ, you're saying?
That's a book from a guy, I believe.
That he wrote. Huff?
No, different guy.
Sorry.
What's the author of that book's name?
I think I have it in my...
He used to write for the Chicago Tribune, I believe.
I have one that's called Evidence That Demands a Verdict, and it's kind of the same theme.
So this guy was a journalist. I think he lived in Chicago, and he was an atheist who eventually became a Christian, and he set out to talk to all sorts of theologians and people about... And it's a lot of historical evidence of the texts and things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Wes Huff is incredible. Y'all should look up his stuff. Wes Huff. Yeah. I did want to do... We kind of got away from just before we... Stop. I wanted to do Washington's farewell address, which did we touched on several things that he talked. What was it that he? Quote, of all the dispositions and habits which lead to political prosperity, religion and morality are indispensable supports. That's in there.
Which is interesting because while he was very religious, he never used religion as like a partisan tool.
I think
he wasn't like overly evangelical.
I think most of the founding fathers kind of had it. I'm very interested in the religiosity of the founding fathers, particularly because it was
pretty evolved.
It was a Judeo-Christian value set.
Yes.
But most of them never explicitly endorsed Christianity for the most part. I think it was kind of in a way of what you just said. Like the basis of the framework of the universe is inherent.
Yeah. Well, and also
there is
I think it was a bit personal, right? I mean, they had seen a lot of abuses of religion as to where it intersected with ruling bodies and governments and whatnot. And I mean, that's how you get to like separation of church and state, right? Like it's a very evolved mindset considering what human history had been for all time before that.
Yeah.
To say like, look, believe what you want and then get your personal value out of it. But we don't need it in the we don't need it in our we don't need it in our courtroom or politics.
It doesn't say that. But
what do you mean?
Well, go look for the word separation of church and state in the Constitution. You're not going to find it.
So conceptually, you don't think that separation of church and state is one of the principles of this country?
In the way people use it, I do not. No. It says Congress shall make no law regarding the establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. It says nothing about all religion must be discarded from any public life.
So where does I'm not as much talking about like
the way in which people use it is incorrect, and it's not in the Constitution.
I'm more saying that it should never be, if we're deciding to pass a bill or not, a single religion's opinion or text should never be used as the basis to pass.
Sure, and you can have that opinion.
So what you're saying, though, you don't think the founding fathers were of that mindset?
I don't think it's in the Constitution, no.
Thomas Jefferson described the First Amendment as creating a wall of separation between church and state. That's what this thing says, as a quote from Jefferson. But I think that you can, the reason that there is just separation of church and state with the First Amendment is because if you were talk about like the Middle Ages and you're in Italy and we're going to kill Galileo because he said something against the church.
I think it in the way you just described it is mostly correct in that it is there to prevent a theocracy.
Yeah.
Yes.
And things of that nature. But I think the way people use that phrase today is not correct.
I think you're probably right.
I think you
should have Christmas recitals in school.
Sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. As long as it's not interfering with my bill making.
Yeah.
I mean, but I do but like in a public school, should you be forced to do a Christian prayer?
Forced? No.
Not forced.
No, but I mean,
should you be allowed to? Yes.
But then don't you have to include a Muslim prayer and maybe a Jewish prayer?
No. Someone can.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have
no law regarding the establishment or prohibiting the free exercise thereof.
There are all sorts of religions in the world too. There's plenty of things preached in schools that are not.
Yeah.
I
would argue there's a lot of secular religions that have arisen in the last
that's probably
15 years or so
true
that
as
are
well.
taught
fair.
in schools.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there.
I also, one last thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think the most important thing, and I think that we've gotten away from it, and it was what the communists did intentionally, was they destroyed God. So then there's nothing above the government.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because if you have you can call it God or an ideal or whatever, but everyone should be subservient to the ideal. And when you remove that, then it's just like, then the government's just the thing, as opposed to being like, no, you guys, fuck you guys.
Yeah.
I'm not wearing a mask.
Well, and I think that's how we get to how you have In God We Trust.
Yeah.
And that doesn't actually contradict creating a barrier between, because you're still maintaining that ideal, but just saying, like you said, we don't want to create a theocracy.
Right.
Sure.
Where a single religion will rule over everybody else.
Yeah. And you don't want, your country to be run by something that's said in Rome either.
No.
So
what if it was something that was said in Philadelphia like 300 something years ago?
That's my religion.
Fuck yeah.
Just a couple other things in that farewell address. Quote, the spirit of party serves always to distract the public councils and enfeeble the public administration.
Fact.
Very prescient. I did not know about this one. Tell me if this rings a bell. It is our true policy to steer clear of permanent alliances with any portion of the foreign world.
So,
what are you making a reference to there, T?
I don't know.
I know. This is, but this is there is a massive debate to be had about globalism versus isolationism and what is actually best. Because you can look at a lot of empires throughout history that at a certain point they get big and powerful enough where something happens and they're like, they go conservative, right? They need to close off. We need to stop advancing. We already knew too much. We knew it was good. And then they almost inevitably fall. But then you also have you look at Rome and they open themselves up more and more and more. And all of a sudden the army's as much like mercenary troops and everything else as it is anything else, and then you kind of fall. So I don't know what the correct answer is. I just saying I don't think that isolationism versus globalism is like as black and white as some people want to make it. I feel like it is a deeply, deeply complicated subject.
I largely agree, and I think globalization has been overall a negative for your average American citizen. In terms of if you go back to like 1971, you could pump gas, and there's a lot of factors, but you could be a guy who's pumping gas and support a family of four, and own a house and all that.
Yeah.
So, but there was there was a goal by the UN to cut poverty, absolute poverty, in half by like 2020. They did it by like 2008. China was bringing 100,000 people a day out of absolute abject poverty.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's amazing.
Yeah. And
so it's like a balance, because like, if you think like all humans are created equal, like those people in China, while it's bad for people here, it is a good thing that they are not starving to death.
Yeah.
But at what cost, and like at what point do you try to, and how do you balance that?
And then, but then it's also had though, it's probably one of the main reasons why, well, top of nukes, that we've had such an extended peace is this idea that you're also economically intertwined, that if one, the whole house card comes falling down. But then you can also read writings from pre-World War I where they basically already thought that was the case. They were like, we can't have a global war because we're all too reliant on one another, and it happened. So I don't.
And there was it was Adam Smith, right? Who's like the father of capitalism or whatever.
Yeah, the invisible hand and all that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And he was like, the invisible hand is great if, England's making lace and Portugal's making wine and they trade freely. But if you start making the lace in Portugal, then England gets fucked. So it's like, you have to, like, if you're all kind of equal trading partners and your money is worth about the same and your goods and your labor all about the same, then fine. But there's always going to be, like, there was the Ross Perot thing, was like, when we pass NAFTA, there's going to be a big sucking noise of taking all these jobs out of Detroit and out of all these places. And it did happen. Like, that happened. So I don't know what the right answer is. I don't even have a guess, because it's very complicated. But I have an isolationist streak, I guess.
My main qualm comes with, perceived or otherwise, the disrepair of much of America, and our focus seems to be elsewhere.
I think that's very fair.
Yeah, then it's also, but then you get into like military spending as well. But then again, like, do you have to spend on the military? Because that's how you remain on top. So there's always, it's always a kind of damned if you do.
Do you think that's the only way to remain on top?
I don't know.
See,
but it's tough because it's like, it's how you've remained on top, but it's not to say that it's the only, but like, who knows if it's the only way?
Because like China does that, like that Belt and Road Initiative, where they're building infrastructure everywhere, and sometimes they trap people into debt, and you're like, you know what, that port is ours now, Sri Lanka, and we're going to put a naval base there. But at the same time, it's like they're kind of expanding their reach and their influence through economic endeavors, and like we did that with like the Marshall Plan in Europe too. When
China's been taking over a lot of world too, like giving out loans, right? And now,
and it's like, oh, you can't pay it back.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess we have to take this port back. And now we're putting destroyers in it. So
maybe it's not the only way.
I don't know. But it's like, I remember watching this Belichick. It was like the two Bills, 30 for 30. Mm-hmm. You ever see that with Belichick and Parcells?
No,
So Belichick's telling this story about how, like, you know, he's running the defense for the Giants, and Parcells is like on his ass. And he's like, well, this is my idea. If you don't like it, like, you have a better idea? And Parcells just goes, I don't know what the right idea is. All I know is what you're doing is fucked. And that's kind of how I feel. Like, I don't know, but figure it out, because what you're doing currently is not
I don't
fucking
know what's
working.
right, but I know this shit is wrong.
This is wrong.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, and look, let's be clear. You definitely fully understand it from Washington's perspective, because all they know are all these Europeans that are 3 months away that are trying to control everything and constantly infighting.
Yeah.
Like, why the fuck would we get involved with all that shit?
Let's not listen to them.
They've been fucking with each other for 1,000 years.
Yeah. The playing field has changed.
Yeah.
All right, we can finish with this. I just want to read the closing couple of paragraphs from Washington's farewell address, because I think it's some of the most beautiful writing in American history. Though in reviewing the incidents of my administration, I am unconscious of intentional error, I am nevertheless too sensible of my defects not to think it probable that I may have committed many errors. Whatever they may be, I fervently beseech the Almighty to avert or mitigate the evils to which they may tend. I shall also carry with me the hope that my country will never cease to view them with indulgence, and that after 45 years of my life, dedicated to its service with an upright zeal, the faults of incompetent abilities will be consigned to oblivion, as myself must soon be to the mansions of rest. Beautiful.
Beautiful.
It reminds me of much more. They remind me of one of my other when Augustus Caesar died, Princeps. He said, like, if I have played my part well, then applaud as I leave the stage. It's kind of in that same sentiment. Now, he probably didn't say that because nobody ever says any quotes that they say, and this was written and whatnot, but God, I gotta love a fucking powerful exiting line from a powerful man.
It's a great line.
If you want something similar to this, Douglas MacArthur gave a speech at West Point after he was fired and like kind of was leaving public life, basically, and the ending of that is unbelievable. You should go look
Okay.
That would be a fun episode. Would be exploring like the final statements. I mean, of course, there's like Eisenhower going out worrying about the military-industrial complex, which
kind of some parallels to what
fucking
Washington
nailed
was, right?
exactly what is. I mean, why we've stayed in a constant state of semi-war.
Yeah.
Ever since the big wars.
MacArthur wanted to use nukes in Korea. Did you know
That's
that?
why he got canned.
You're right. Yeah.
I'm reading a book on MacArthur right now. You would probably love it. Have you read it? American Caesar.
It's a great title.
No, I don't think I've read it.
You should read it.
Okay.
He's a fascinating. We should do an episode on him.
Yeah. Great branding. The pipe. The whole
Yeah,
thing.
the cockeyed hat.
I shall return.
Yeah.
Yeah. Badass. Called a shot.
Well, I guess that's it. Thank you guys for joining.
That was great. I enjoyed it.
Wide-ranging episode. That was great, guys.
That's not
Thank
even
you.
as wide-ranging as we usually go.
The only thing that I've struggled with this episode is this wig is so fucking itchy.
I can't wait to
having
get
a
out
hard
of here.
time.
My scalp is on fire right now.
Keeping the glasses, but I'm ditching the
I don't know
hair.
how you're wearing a quarters in.
Oh,
It's
our
77
so hot
degrees in
here.
here.
Our
It's
office
so
is always
hot.
so
The
cold.
AC hasn't been working in here the last couple
We have
days.
it comes to our office. We're stealing your
You want to
AC.
switch?
No.
Actually, I don't, because we're in like the best spot.
No one knows you. I always forget how to get here.
No, it's hidden.
That's funny. Yeah, I can't believe you guys have been wearing the wigs the whole time.
All right. Well,
It's
thank you
impressive.
everyone
Made it.
for listening. We will be back. Is there
Not next
going to
week.
be a best of next week?
Yes, best of first half of the year.
Cool.
Nice.
And then we will be back the week of July
7th, I believe.
8th?
Yeah.
The 8th.
Mhm.
All right. Thank you. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Happy 4th of July.
Happy 4th of July, guys. Shout out America. Thanks, G-Dubs.
Mm.